Chapter 41:14. Crack. Countless cracks appeared on the surface of the stone. These cracks quickly spread until the entire stone broke apart. From the cracked stone, a clear and melodious cry of a baby could be heard. It's a baby? Zhuan was completely dumbfounded. He looked at the baby lying in the debris and was completely dumbfounded. A baby jumped out of the stone. Wasn't this too against common sense? Holy shit, what's going on? Brat, when did you not even let go of stone? Xiao He, who was originally sitting on the sword hilt, was dumbfounded and almost fell to the ground. Blue veins appeared on Zhuan's forehead. He suddenly sent Xiao He flying with a palm strike. This guy's mouth was too cheap. Hee, brat, I was just joking. Don't take it to heart. Xiao He flew back. His face was full of embarrassment, but he didn't dare to speak carelessly. Zhuan held the baby in his arms. The baby, who was originally crying, suddenly stopped crying and even giggled. Brat, look, he's laughing. You must be his father without a doubt. Xiao He yelled. Zhuan was expressionless. He once again punched Xiao He. This time, Xiao He was completely obedient and didn't dare to tease Zhuan anymore. Suddenly, the strings of strange characters on the surface of the debris on the stone pillar seemed to be alive. They actually broke away from the stone pillar, rushed into the sky, and landed on the baby's body. The originally white and flawless baby, who looked like a beautiful jade sculpture, was now covered with dense, strange characters. In an instant, the baby's aura also rose rapidly. In just 10 breaths' time, the baby actually jumped from an ordinary person with no cultivation level to the virtual sky world. Moreover, the baby's cultivation level was still rising. First step in the virtual sky world, second step in the virtual sky world, 8th step in the virtual sky world, 9th step in the virtual sky world. However, after his aura reached the 9th step in the virtual sky world, although the rising of his aura slowed down, it didn't stop. His aura was still growing stronger. In the end, the baby crossed the two extremes of life and death and successfully confirmed his Tao. As soon as he was born, he inexplicably succeeded in confirming his Tao. Moreover, he's a Heaven's Mandate Lord at the second step of Tao validation. Xiao He's jaw almost dropped. He looked at the baby in Zhuan's arms as if he was looking at a monster. This was the first time he had seen a newborn baby with a Tao-confirming cultivation base. This was too heaven-defying. Zhuan was completely stunned. He thought that his son was already heaven-defying enough. He was born at the peak of the true God realm and reached the void sky 8 steps at the age of 20. But compared to the baby in front of him, his son was far inferior. This should be a human born from the great world, but he's too heaven-defying. Zhuan looked at the giggling baby in his hand with mixed feelings. Doesn't that mean that this little baby is the first human in your great world? This was the heavens as the father and the earth as the mother, a true son of heaven and earth. I'm afraid he's going to be an amazing guy in the future. Xiao He rubbed his hands and looked at the baby in Zhuan's hands with a kind gaze. He had been in the great world for so many years and had always been with the blood immortal sword and the sacrificial death sword. He had long been tired of it. Now, the great world had finally given birth to its first human. He would not be so bored in the future. Zhuan suddenly said, "This child's power seems to be completely different from ours. His body is extremely strong, but there's not a trace of divine power in it." Xiao He came over and looked carefully. His eyes also became serious. Zhuan was right. There was no divine power in the child's body. The powerful aura was all emitted by that small body. Xiao He said seriously, "The strength of his body seems to come from these strange characters on his body. Could it be?" Zhuan and Xiao He raised their heads at the same time and looked at each other. They could see the shock in each other's eyes. "Boy, your great world is amazing. This newly born infant's cultivation path might be a brand new system. A cultivation system that may not exist in the 100 outer regions or even in the chaotic starry sky. It's a system that can turn the world upside down. It's a revolution of the earth." Xiao He said excitedly. Zhuan's eyes were full of surprise. If their guess was right, then Zhuan's great world was really amazing. It was a brand new world that did not rely on the chaotic starry sky at all. It had its own rules, laws, and energy. It also had a brand new system that was derived by itself. The baby in front of them was the ancestor of this cultivation system. He would definitely be an extraordinary person in the future. Xiaohei, I'll leave this child to you. Remember to take care of him for me. If there's any problem, you must inform me immediately. Zhuan handed the baby to Xiaohei. The latter's eyes lit up, and he transformed into a handsome young man in a black robe. He carefully took the baby. What embarrassed Xiaohei was that the baby immediately cried and threw a tantrum as soon as he took it. Xiaohei's face was covered in dirt. It took a lot of effort for him to calm the baby down. This child can't be nameless. How about I give him a name? Xiaohei said excitedly. It was the first time that Zhuan had seen Xiaohei so excited. He did not refuse the latter's suggestion. In the end, after some consideration, Xiaohei finally decided on the baby's name. He even handed over the blood celestial sword and the sacrificial sword's device spirit for discussion. The baby was born from the rock and was born in the light of the rising sun through the cracks in the clouds. Therefore, Xiaohei named the baby Shirpatian. Although there were many mysteries surrounding Shirpatian, Zhuan also knew that if he wanted to understand Shir Potion's cultivation system and the meaning of the strange characters engraved on his body, he would have to wait until Shirpatian was a little older and could speak. However, Zhuan had a strong premonition that the birth of this child would have a great impact on the chaotic starry sky under the rule of the ancient star system in the future. Although he did not know how great the impact would be in the future, he was sure that it would not be a small one. Another few days passed. Zhuan, who had been cultivating in his room, felt a violent tremor coming from his surroundings. His divine thoughts swept out and found that the huge space-time beast had left the space-time turbulence and appeared on a vast plain. At the end of the plain, there were mountains and rivers. Dear guests, the destination of this trip, the magical realm, is about to arrive. Dear guests, please be prepared in advance. A sweet female voice rang out from every room on the space-time beast. Chapter 41:15. Esteemed guests, we are landing at the biggest city in the Sorcerer God world, Sorcerer God City. This city is the outer city of the Sorcerer God Sacred City. It is a huge city that is specially used for foreign cultivators to trade and travel. The sweet female voice sounded again on the deck. Disciple, you are already out. No wonder you did not respond when I knocked on your door. Zhuan turned around and saw Shan Lingyun walking over with Sa, Mei, and Tuo Sheng. Behind them was a group of Huxley tribesmen. Zhuan smiled and looked at the huge city in the distance. He said, we are almost at Sorcerer God City. Master, you should be able to contact your aunt in Sorcerer God City. Shan Lingyun walked to Zhuan's side and looked at the city in the distance. She nodded and said, there is a special way to contact my tribe on the letter that my father left behind. As long as we are not too far away, I will be able to use the communication method on the letter. I will be able to contact my aunt. But I have not met this aunt before. I'm not sure if she will still recognize me as her niece. Shan Lingyun seemed a little unhappy, and a trace of worry appeared in her eyes. Zhuan rubbed Shan Lingyun's head and said, Master, don't worry. Since the tribe leader has entrusted you and the rest of the tribesmen to your aunt, I am sure she will not reject you, because she is also from the Huxley tribe. Hearing this, Shan Lingyun's eyes lit up again, and she nodded her head heavily. Zhuan chatted with Shan Lingyun, Sa Mei, and the rest as they waited for the space-time beast to land. At the same time, Zhuan noticed that there was always a gaze on the deck that was faintly discernible in his direction. He looked up and realized that the owner of the gaze was a man in a black robe. Even his face could not be seen clearly. He seemed to have noticed Zhuan's gaze. He nodded slightly and did not greet him. Zhuan nodded to him as well. The black-robed man was naturally Duan Jiping. However, Duan Jiping was currently wanted by the Nuwa clan, so he wouldn't show himself in public. About 2 hours later, the space-time beast finally landed in a huge square in the Sorcerer God City. There was no doubt that the background of the space-time temple in the Radiant Domain was not weak. Therefore, when they entered the Sorcerer Domain and the Sorcerer God City, they were not stopped for questioning. Dear guests, we have arrived at the Witch God City. Please disembark in an orderly manner. We welcome you to come again in the future. As the sweet female voice sounded again, the people on the deck rushed down and left the space-time beast. After Zhuowen and his group came down, they found a good inn nearby and stayed for the time being. After Shan Lingyun returned to the inn, she took out Lu Rinjue's letter and began to contact her aunt. Shan Lingyun successfully got in touch with her aunt. The latter expressed that she welcomed them very much and would come and greet them in 3 days. At the same time, Zhuowen also found that under the prosperous surface of the Sorcerer God City, there was an undercurrent surging. He could feel that many extremely obscure auras were located in the Sorcerer God City. Brother Zhua, it seems that this tomb of a cosmic Dharma plane expert is very attractive. There are at least 2 great carefree realm experts, and there are more than 10 geniuses on the outer realm celestial list. Among them, there is an expert who is ranked in the top 20. Not long after Zhuowen settled down in the inn, he received a message from Duan Jipeng. Zhuowen took a deep breath. It seemed that the battle for the tomb this time would be a fierce battle. It would not be simple. 3 days later, outside the inn where Zhuowen was staying, an armored cultivator army with a strong aura came. This cultivator army had been through hundreds of battles. They were murderous, and their aura was much stronger than that of an ordinary cultivator army. It's the Sorcerer God army of the Sorcerer God clan. This is the most elite cultivator army of the Sorcerer God clan. They usually guard the surroundings of the Sorcerer God sacred city. Why are they here? Look, that's Lu Yingying. She is the cultivation partner of the Sorcerer God clan leader. She has a high position and authority. Why is this lady here in the Sorcerer God city? The sudden appearance of this cultivator army naturally attracted the attention of the people around the streets of the Sorcerer God city. Everyone was discussing and whispering, especially when they saw the beautiful woman in a tight outfit in front of the cultivator army. Their eyes were filled with awe. Ma, I didn't know you were here. Please forgive me for not welcoming you. The owner of the inn scrambled out and came to Lu Yingying. He was so scared that his face was pale. He was only running a small business. He did not know what he had done wrong to provoke Lu Yingying to send the Sorcerer God army to his inn. Lu Yingying had snow-white skin, an oval face, and a pair of long and narrow phoenix eyes that were filled with unconcealable charm. If a man looked in her eyes, it would be easy for him to fall head over heels in love. At this moment, Lu Yingying's expression was indifferent as she said, 3 days ago, was there a group of people who stayed in your inn? The leader was called Shan Lingyun. The owner of the inn was shocked. He could only bite the bullet and say, there was indeed such a group of people. May I know why you are looking for them? After receiving an affirmative answer from the owner of the inn, Lu Yingying's expression eased up, and a faint smile appeared on her face. They are very important to me. Ask them to come out now. Tell them that Lu Yingying wants to see them. Lu Yingying said. The owner of the inn naturally did not dare to delay. He responded and hurriedly entered the inn. After a while, the owner of the inn led a group of people out. The leader of this group of people was a young man with a delicate and pretty face. On the young man's shoulder was a little lowly with a delicate face. Lu Yingying's long and narrow eyes casually glanced at Zhuowen. However, her attention was on the little girl on Zhuowen's back. Her eyes revealed a trace of gentleness. Lingyun, do you still remember me? Lu Yingying smiled at Shan Lingyun. Shan Lingyun naturally saw Lu Yingying. Her big eyes looked at Lu Yingying timidly. Then, she lowered her head and thought for a while before saying, Is it Aunt Yingying? The smile on Lu Yingying's face became wider. She walked forward and took Shan Lingyun from Zhuowen's hands. Then, she carried her up. Our Lingyun is so smart. She only saw Aunt a few times when she was young. After so many years, she still remembers Aunt. Lu Yingying said with a smile. Chapter 41:16. You must be the disciples of King Valurium and King Imperial Dragon. right? Are you all that's left of our people? Lu Yingying smiled warmly at Sam Mei and Tuo Sheng. Sam Mei and Tuo Sheng looked at each other and smiled bitterly. They nodded with difficulty. Jin Shui clan, God's Eye, and Purple Mirage. How dare they work together to destroy Huxley? How despicable! Lu Yingying's eyes were filled with coldness. As she spoke, Lu Yingying's gaze landed on Zhuowen. Ling Yun, who is he? Lu Yingying asked curiously. To her, Zhuowen was a stranger. However, he was walking in front of Sam Mei and Tuo Sheng. Senior Lu, I am Zhuowen. I am Ling Yun's disciple. Zhuowen said with a smile. So you are Ling Yun's disciple. Lu Yingying nodded. She did not pay much attention to Zhuowen. Auntie, disciple is the savior of our Hushu clan. When the three big clans invaded Huxley, he single-handedly killed the three clan leaders and all their elite martial artists. He even led us to escape from Saiku Hongfei, chased after them. In the end, he even defeated Saiku Hongfei. Shan Lingyun said with a smile. What? He had single-handedly killed the patriarchs of the three great clans and defeated Saiku Hongfei? This. Lu Yingying's expression finally changed. She looked at the young man in front of her carefully. The young man's aura was indeed powerful. However, he was only at the Middle Ancient Star transformation realm. He could not even compare to the three clan leaders, let alone Saiku Hongfei. How could he have done such a thing? Lingyun, are you kidding? He really killed the three clan leaders and Saiku Hongfei? Lu Yingying asked with a frown. Yes. If you don't believe me, you can ask Sam Mei and Tuo Sheng. They saw it with their own eyes in Hushu City. Shan Lingyun said innocently. You were Zhuowen, right? Although I don't know how you did it. Since you successfully brought my people out, I do have to thank you. This is a heaven-breaking level 9 godly medicine. Consider it my gift to you on behalf of Huxley. Lu Yingying arrived before Zhuowen. With a flip of her lily-white hand, an exquisite brocade box appeared in her palm, and she passed it to Zhuowen. Zhuowen was startled. He looked at the cold-faced, beautiful woman in front of him and felt a little helpless. It seemed that Lu Yingying had misunderstood him. Senior Lu, there is no need for any gifts. Ling Yun is my master. Master's kindness is as great as a mountain. I naturally won't save him. Zhuowen shook his head and refused Lu Yingying's gift of thanks. Lu Yingying glanced at Zhuowen in surprise, but she didn't refuse. She put away the brocade box and continued. In that case, I thank you on behalf of Huxley for your help. Although you are Ling Yun's disciple, you are not Huxley's. Therefore, if I bring you into the Sorcerer God Holy City without permission, I am afraid that it will be inappropriate. Shan Ling Yun, Sam Mei, and the others' expressions changed slightly. They immediately understood what Lu Yingying meant. Zhuowen looked deeply at Lu Yingying and smiled. Senior Lu, don't worry. I will not be so thick-skinned as to follow you into the Sorcerer God Holy City. However, Ling Yun is my master. I hope that after they enter the Sorcerer God Holy City, they will be treated well. They will not be mistreated. If I find out that they have been mistreated in any way, I will definitely go to the Sorcerer God Holy City and ask for justice. Lu Yingying frowned. This young man's cultivation was ordinary, but his tone was not small. Don't worry. After all, I am Huxley's clansman. I will not mistreat my own people. Moreover, as the Taoist companion of the Sorcerer God Holy City's leader, I have a say in the Sorcerer God Holy City. Lu Yingying said calmly. Aunt, what we said is true. Disciple really saved us. He is Huxley's benefactor. If it were not for him, we would not have survived. Shan Lingyun said anxiously. Sa Mei, Tuo Sheng, and the others also spoke up for Zhuowen. Lu Yingying smiled. Lingyun, the Sorcerer God Holy City, is not the Sorcerer God Holy City. That is the Sorcerer God Holy City. It is basically impossible for non-members of the Sorcerer God Holy City to enter. I spent a lot of effort to get the Sorcerer God Holy City's leader to accept you. If there are other people now, I am afraid that the Sorcerer God Holy City's leader will not agree. Moreover, if you want to meet in the future, you can meet in the Sorcerer God Holy City. There are no restrictions. Zhuowen also stepped forward and rubbed Shanling Yun's head gently. He smiled and said, Senior Liu is right. After all, this is not Huxley. When you go back, you have to listen to Senior Liu. She will definitely protect you. Shanling Yun curled her lips, and her big watery eyes had already turned red. Her eyes were already filled with a hazy mist. My disciple, you have to wait for me. I still want to go to the New realm with you. You can't go alone. Otherwise, I will not forgive you. Shanling Yun's eyes were red. She waved her little fist at Zhuowen and said fiercely, I can't go against my master's orders. I dare not go alone, Zhuowen said with a smile. Zhuowen then said goodbye to Sam Mei, Tu Ah Sheng, and the others. They then followed Liu Yingying and left the Sorcerer God Holy City. I thought you were going to follow us to the Sorcerer God Holy City. Now it seems like I was thinking too much. In the inn, a man in a black robe walked to Zhuowen's side. He looked at the backs of Shanling Yun and the others and said in a low and hoarse voice, Brother Duan, it's time to do our business. How's the information gathering going? Zhuowen asked calmly. It's almost done. Just now. The little girl said that you killed Psycho Hongfei. Is that true? Duan Jiping asked curiously. Do you think it's true or not? Zhuowen asked. Duan Jiping shrugged and said, How would I know? After all, you're only at the middle stage of the ancient star transformation realm. It's a little exaggerated to say that you killed an elite who had undergone the great tribulation of the universe. Zhuowen smiled and did not explain. He said, Let's plan for the upcoming battle in the tomb in these few days. We can only win this trip. Liu Yingying returned to the Sorcerer God Holy City. After settling Shanling Yun and the others down, she went to the Sorcerer God Grand Hall. In the Sorcerer God Grand Hall stood a tall and sturdy figure. He was the current leader of the Sorcerer God clan, Mo Liuhua. Husband. Liu Yingying bowed deeply to the figure and said respectfully. Mo Liuhua slowly turned around. He was wearing a golden silk robe and had long dark red hair. Although he looked to be over 50 years old, he had an imposing aura. Yingying, I will only tolerate your stubbornness this time. After settling down Huxley's people, you have to watch over them at all times. They are not allowed to wander around the Sorcerer God Holy City. If I find out that Huxley's people are not allowed to go where they should go, don't blame me for being merciless. Mo Liuhua looked at Liu Yingying and said in a deep voice. Chapter 41:17. In the following period of time, Zhuowen basically stayed in the inn to cultivate, while Duan Jiping was basically not in the inn. Instead, he was preparing for the Battle of the Tomb. Time gradually passed, and half a month quietly passed. Finally, on this day, Duan Jiping knocked on Zhuowen's door. Brother Zhuo, the specific location of the tomb of the Cosmic Dharma Powerhouse has finally been found. As soon as he entered the door, Duan Jiping excitedly said to Zhuowen without beating around the bush. Zhuowen was excited. He lowered his voice and asked, Brother Duan, where is the tomb? Duan Jiping took out a jade slip and handed it to Zhuowen. He whispered, The specific location of the tomb is in this jade slip. I spent a lot of money to get it from a friend in the Sorcerer God City. There's no doubt about it. You got the news from the Sorcerer God City? That means... Zhuowen frowned. You guessed right. The first to know about the tomb of the Cosmic Dharma Powerhouse was the Sorcerer God clan. Originally, the Sorcerer God clan planned to monopolize the tomb of the Cosmic Dharma Powerhouse, but they didn't expect that the news of the tomb would suddenly be exposed. There are many realms around the Sorcerer God realm, and even some geniuses on the Outer Realm Heavenly List who are also interested in this matter. That's why the Sorcerer God City is so lively. Duan Jiping smiled faintly. Then how many people know the specific location of the tomb of the Cosmic Dharma Powerhouse? Zhuowen had a bad feeling. Since Duan Jiping could get the specific location, it was obvious that other powerhouses in the Great Carefree Realm could also get it. There should be a lot. After all, I'm just a rogue cultivator. Some of the real big forces have corresponding channels to get this information. The competition this time is definitely not small. You have to be careful. Duan Jiping said with a serious expression. In fact, he was still a little worried about Zhuan. After all, Zhuan's cultivation was a little low. This battle for the tomb was bound to have experts in the great calamity of heaven and earth. If Zhuan encountered such an opponent, he would be in danger. Zhuan smiled faintly and did not say anything. Although his cultivation was only at the middle stage of the ancient star transformation realm, his strength was definitely not weak. In addition, his array Dao had just broken through to the first firmament of the eternal grade. Ordinary universe tribulation experts might not be able to take him down. Let's go. Let's go to the tomb first, Duan Jiping suggested. Zhuan nodded. The two of them left the inn and quickly left Sorcerer God City. According to the reliable information Duan Jiping had obtained, the grave was located at a place called Snow Flame Valley, tens of billions of kilometers north of Sorcerer God City. The Snow Flame Valley was an extremely famous perilous place in the magical domain. It was extremely dangerous. It was said that any cultivator below the Great Carefree Realm would die, without a doubt, if they entered. When Zhuan and Duan Jiping arrived at a wide open space in the outskirts of the Snow Flame Valley, they were shocked to discover that many people had already gathered there. Moreover, these people had set up their immortal mansions in the open space. It seemed that they intended to stay here. What made Zhuan's expression even more solemn was that the group of people in the open space all had extremely powerful auras. Many of them were even great Carefree Realm cultivators. Even the weakest among them was at the Ancient Star Transformation Realm. How dare a junior of the Ancient Star Transformation Realm be so presumptuous? Do you want to die? Suddenly, in the middle of the open space, an unfriendly shout attracted the attention of everyone present. Zhuan and Duan Jiping were also attracted by the shout and couldn't help but look over there. In front of an immortal mansion in the middle of the open space, a purple-haired youth stood quietly, staring indifferently at a white-haired old man standing in the immortal mansion. The purple-haired youth was extremely beautiful. His skin was even fairer and smoother than most female cultivators. If it weren't for his prominent Adam's apple, it would be easy to mistake him for a guy dressed up as a man. Just now, the owner of the loud shout was the old man standing in the immortal mansion. At this moment, the old man stared at the purple-haired youth with an extremely unfriendly gaze. The aura on his body was like an abyss, rolling down and crushing down, causing the surrounding pressure to suddenly skyrocket. The cultivators who had gathered in the surroundings all fled far away with fear in their eyes, not daring to approach. It's the Black Bamboo Old Man. This is a big shot in the early stage of the universe Great Tribulation. I didn't expect him to come too. Old Man Black Bamboo was a rogue cultivator who did not belong to any sect. His actions were the most shameless and unreasonable. He was also a vengeful person. Even many of the realm guardians of the lower realms were not willing to become enemies with Old Man Black Bamboo. What is the background of this young man? Looking at his aura, he is only at the peak of the Ancient Star Transformation Realm. He actually dares to provoke the Black Bamboo Old Man. Isn't that courting death? Many of the people present recognized the identity of the Black Bamboo Old Man. Therefore, they looked at the purple-haired youth with some pity. Zhuan took another look at the purple-haired youth. It was not because of the youth's excessively beautiful face, but because of the youth's calm expression. This expression was as if he did not place the Black Bamboo Old Man in front of him in his eyes at all. Old Man Black Bamboo, I've said it before. I've taken a fancy to your position. It's not too late for you to scram now. Otherwise, you might not even have the chance to scram later. Just when everyone thought that the purple-haired youth would kneel down and beg for mercy from the Black Bamboo Old Man, the purple-haired youth finally spoke. However, the words that he said caused everyone to be charred on the outside and tender on the inside. Could it be that this youth has gone crazy? You're just an Ancient Star Transformation trash. What right do you have to say such shameless words to an expert of the universe Great Tribulation? This was not only what everyone thought, but also what the Black Bamboo Old Man thought. Little bastard, you're courting death. The Black Bamboo Old Man was so angry that he trembled. He reached out his right hand into the air and then ruthlessly pressed down on Zhuowen. Boom, boom, boom. Terrifying divine power condensed in the air and transformed into a huge illusory mountain that blasted towards the purple-haired youth. The black bamboo old man's eyes were filled with contempt. After all, he was an expert of the universe's great tribulation. It was naturally impossible for him to use his full strength against a mere peak ancient star transformation cultivator. In his opinion, a casual strike was enough to destroy the youth before him. However, the black bamboo old man did not see the mocking smile on the purple-haired youth's face. Suddenly, the purple-haired youth drew the long sword at his waist and quickly slashed out. A purple sword light shot out like a waterfall. It turned into a purple river and slammed into the illusory mountain. Then, under everyone's shocked gazes, the illusory mountain was annihilated by the purple sword light. The moment the illusory mountain was annihilated, the purple-haired youth took a step forward and shot out like lightning. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of the black bamboo old man. Before anyone could react, the purple-haired youth had already brushed past the black bamboo old man clang. The purple-haired youth slowly sheathed his long sword and revealed a trace of an evil smile. Chapter 41:18. What a fast and sharp sword. Zhuowen looked at the purple-haired youth's back, and his eyes became extremely serious. At that moment, he actually couldn't see the purple-haired youth's figure clearly. He could only vaguely see a little bit of afterimage. It should be known that Zhuowen's divine sense was much stronger than that of an ancient star transformation cultivator. Even many early-stage Chinquin tribulation cultivators' divine senses were not necessarily as sharp as his. But he couldn't see the purple-haired youth's movements clearly. This meant that the purple-haired youth's speed was far beyond Zhuowen's expectations. Zhuowen looked at the purple-haired youth's long sword that was already sheathed at his waist. If he didn't sense it wrong, this long sword should be a very powerful astral weapon. There was an uproar in the open space. Everyone looked at the purple-haired youth in disbelief. A mere ancient star transformation cultivator actually cut off the arms of a Chinquin tribulation cultivator. This was too unbelievable. Black Bamboo old man's face was pale. He stared at the purple-haired youth's back and asked in a trembling voice, "Who are you?" "Old man, don't think that you're invincible just because you've entered the great carefree realm. In my eyes, trash from a low-level world like you don't know the true meaning of the great carefree realm. Even if you use all your strength, I can still defeat you and even kill you." The purple-haired youth slowly turned around. The evil smile on his lips grew wider. He continued, "Right? My name is Ziyu." The moment they heard Ziyu's name, most of the cultivators in the open space exclaimed in surprise. "Ziyu? Could it be Ziyu who is ranked 5th on the Outer Realm celestial list? I didn't expect that this existence would also come here to compete for the tomb of a cosmic Dharma cultivator. The tomb of a cosmic Dharma cultivator is really attractive. Even Ziyu is here. I'm afraid that many geniuses on the Outer Realm celestial list are here." Black Bamboo old man trembled. He didn't expect that the person he randomly met would be ranked 5th on the Outer Realm celestial list. One had to know that the top 10 of the Outer Realm heavenly ranking had records of killing powerhouses in the universe calamity. All of them were extremely terrifying geniuses. This Ziyu was ranked 5th on the Outer Realm celestial list. Her strength was definitely above Black Bamboo Lousie's. It was not impossible for her to kill him. What made Black Bamboo even more afraid was the huge power behind Ziyu. The geniuses on the Outer Realm Heaven leaderboard were basically all nurtured by the true major forces of the Outer Realm 100 domains. Each of them had a strong background. Ziyu came from one of the super domains, the Xiling domain. The power behind it was enormous and was not something that the Black Bamboo old man could afford to offend. "Now, do you still think I'm courting death?" Ziyu said slowly. Plop. Heiju simply knelt on the ground and constantly kowtowed to Ziyu, begging her not to pursue him. Ziyu waved her hand and said coldly, "Get up. I'm only interested in your position. I don't want to kill you. Now scram. Black Bamboo Lousy breathed a sigh of relief and hurriedly scrammed. He didn't even dare to take back his immortal residence. Ziyu didn't feel any guilt at all. She openly stayed in Black Bamboo Lousy's immortal residence, leaving the surrounding people staring at each other. As expected of a genius on the outer realm heavenly ranking, she has such terrifying battle strength at the ancient star transformation. The younger generation will surpass us in time. Duan Jiping stood beside Zhuowen and was full of emotion. Zhuowen also nodded in agreement. Ziyu's strength was absolutely top-notch. Even if it was Zhuowen, he might still have the strength to fight against Ziyu if he had to use all his trump cards. Otherwise, he really wouldn't be Ziyu's opponent. Is a super domain really so powerful? The juniors that they nurture are actually so terrifying. Zhuowen muttered to himself. From the discussions of the surrounding people, he also knew that Ziyu came from a super domain. If it was a lower domain like the Hushu domain or the Wu God domain, they definitely wouldn't be able to produce a monstrous genius like Ziyu. However, the Xiling domain was able to nurture one. It could be seen how powerful and terrifying a super domain was. The higher the level of a domain, the stronger its foundation and the more outstanding its people are. And the younger generation cultivated by the invincible domain and the archaic Heavenly Tao Academy are even more terrifying. It's just that the younger generation of the invincible domain and the archaic Heavenly Tao Academy are more low-key. They have never competed for the outer realm heavenly ranking. Therefore, there are no young cultivators from the invincible domain and the archaic Heavenly Tao Academy on the outer realm heavenly ranking. If they want to compete, the rankings on the outer realm heavenly ranking will probably change dramatically, Duan Jiping said in a low voice. Ziyu, how awe-inspiring. You repelled an expert at the initial stage of the universe tribulation as soon as you arrived. This is really like your style. You pick the weak ones when picking bones. A slightly mocking voice sounded out from afar. Everyone looked over and saw a young man wearing a mask. He stepped through the air and slowly landed beside Ziyu's immortal mansion. Suzhou, I didn't expect you to come too. Ziyu walked out of the immortal mansion and looked at the masked young man with fear. Suzhou? Could it be Suzhou, who is ranked 4th on the outer realm heavenly ranking? He is a genius more powerful than Ziyu. I didn't expect even him to come. This is really unexpected. When Ziyu called out the masked young man's name, there was another uproar in the open space. Suzhou smiled gently. Aren't you going to invite me in to have a seat when you see an old friend? Ziyu narrowed her eyes and smiled. Brother Suzhou, please follow me into the house. After Suzhou and Ziyu entered the immortal mansion, the surrounding uproar not only didn't lessen, but became even more serious. Brother Zhua, the 2 friends I made an appointment with have arrived. Come with me to meet them. We have more people in this battle for the tomb. We can take care of each other and greatly reduce the risk. Duan Jiping suddenly said to Zhuowen. Zhuowen thought for a moment and nodded. Thus, the 2 of them quietly left the open space. In a dense bamboo forest about 7 or 8 kilometers away from the open space, 2 figures had been waiting there for a long time. These 2 figures were a man and a woman. The man didn't look old, about 30 years old. He was dressed in a gray robe and looked very capable and energetic. The woman was exceptionally enchanting and charming. Her pair of narrow phoenix eyes were exceptionally seductive. What was even rarer was that the aura of this man and woman was extremely vast. Although it was slightly inferior to Duan Jiping's, it wasn't too far off. They were probably late-stage experts of the Qinkuan Great Tribulation. When Duan Jiping and Zhuowen arrived at the bamboo forest, the man and woman greeted them with a smile. Chapter 4119. Brother Lin, sister-in-law, it's been a while. Duan Jiping cupped his hands politely. Zhuowen silently looked at the man and woman in front of him. Duan Jiping had already introduced them to Zhuowen on the way here. The man and woman were a pair of Taoist companions from the intermediate realm, the water and fire heroes. The man was called Lin Long, and the woman was called Ling Long. The 2 of them were good at teamwork. although their cultivation was not as good as Duan Jiping's. If they joined forces, even Duan Jiping might not be able to take them down. Brother Duan, you're too polite. Didn't you say that there are 4 of us this time? Where's the other fellow? Lin Long asked politely. Duan Jiping smiled a little embarrassedly and said, I forgot to introduce the 2 of you. This person beside me is called Zhuo Wan, a friend of mine who has gone through life and death together. He's the 4th person to enter the tomb this time. Lin Long and Ling Long finally looked at Zhuowen with a strange look in their eyes. Just now, when Zhuowen was with Duan Jiping, they did not pay much attention to him. After all, Zhuowen's aura was too weak. He was only at the middle stage of the ancient star transformation. In their opinion, the 4th person invited by Duan Jiping should at least be an expert of a universe tribulation. Who would have thought that it was just a little guy at the ancient star transformation? Brother Duan, it's not that I look down on your friend, but your friend cultivation is too weak. After entering the tomb, are you sure he can protect himself? You know, we don't want to have to worry about our safety while exploring the tomb. And the safety of our teammates. Lin Long frowned and said in a deep voice. Zhuowen's eyes were calm, but he was sneering in his heart. Lin Long obviously thought that he would be a burden. Duan Jiping said seriously, Brother Lin, I've said it before. Brother Zhuo is my friend. This time, I must bring him into the tomb. If you don't agree, then our agreement may be invalid. Lin Long and Ling Long looked at each other and hesitated. The battle for the tomb this time was full of danger. There were many strong cultivators. Although the 2 of them were strong, they were still a little weak. That was why they joined forces with Duan Jiping. If Duan Jiping withdrew because of this, it would be a huge loss to them. How about this? He'll be entering the tomb with us, but you'll have to be responsible for his safety, Brother Duan. My wife and I won't be responsible for that. Lin Long said in a deep voice. Although Duan Jiping was unhappy, he knew that it was unrealistic to ask Lin Long and Ling Long to protect Zhuowen, so he could only nod in agreement. Brother Duan, don't worry. After entering the tomb, I have no problem protecting myself. Zhuowen patted Duan Jiping's shoulder and laughed. Duan Jiping smiled bitterly. He obviously took Zhuowen's words as a form of consolation and did not take them to heart. Lin Long and his wife, on the other hand, had undisguised sneers on their faces. They were rather disdainful of Zhuo Wen's words. After the 2 sides reached an agreement, they came to the open space outside the Snow Flame Valley. In order not to attract attention, the 4 of them set up a simple immortal residence in the corner of the open space and stayed there temporarily. As time passed, more and more cultivators came to the open space outside the Snow Flame Valley. There was no lack of strong cultivators from the Great Qian Kuan Tribulation. In addition, there were many geniuses from the Outer Realm Heavenly List, such as Fu Di, who was ranked 10th, Shunin, who was ranked 15th, and Zhao Tianyi, who was ranked 20th. There were more than 10 geniuses from the Outer Realm Heavenly List who came this time. Among them, there were 3 in the top 10, 2 in the top 20, and the rest were not in the top 20. None of them could be underestimated. In addition, there were many protectors from the Outer Realm. Of course, these protectors were from the lower realms. Naturally, the true masters of the intermediate and advanced domains would not be interested in this tomb of a cosmic Dharma adept. What surprised Zhuowen even more was that the Nuwa clan had also come. However, the people from the Nuwa clan who came this time were not the strong cultivators of the Nuwa clan, but the younger generation of the Nuwa clan. The leader of the Nuwa clan team was a genius who was ranked 72nd on the Outer Realm Heavenly List. His name was Lai Rong. Lai Rong was a young man who looked no more than 20 years old. His face was handsome and as gentle as jade. From afar, he looked more like a gentleman. In addition, the team that Lai Rong brought was basically made up of the younger generation of the Nuwa clan. The only thing that caught Zhuowen's attention was the middle-aged man beside Lai Rong. From the aura of the middle-aged man, his cultivation was probably not much weaker than Duan Jiping's. Obviously, Lai Rong's status in the Nuwa clan was not low. He even had a strong cultivator at the peak of the Great Qian Kuan Tribulation protecting him. Nuwa clan, I've been pursued so miserably all these years. It's time for the Nuwa clan to pay a price. When Lai Rong and the others arrived at the periphery of the Snowflame Valley, Duan Jiping walked out of the immortal abode like a cat that had smelled blood. He looked coldly at Lai Rong and the others. Brother Zhua, if there's a chance, I must kill these people from the Nuwa clan. Can you hold Lai Rong back? Duan Jiping suddenly looked at Zhuowen cautiously and asked. Zhuowen did not speak. Instead, he flipped his right hand. Instantly, lines of formation patterns appeared in his palm. With Zhuowen's current level of formation skills, he had long surpassed the level of relying on formation discs to set up formations. He had already reached the level where he could condense extremely powerful formation patterns at will. What a powerful formation power! This is Brother Zhua, so you're a half-step, eternal level formation God Master. Duan Jiping was overjoyed. Zhuowen put away the formation patterns in his palm. These half-step, eternal level formation patterns were casually set up by Zhuowen. Duan Jiping did not know much about formation God Masters. After all, it was impossible for a half-step, eternal level formation God Master to set up half-step, eternal level formation patterns at will. Only a true, eternal level formation God Master could do that. Of course, Zhuowen did not deliberately explain. With Brother Zhua's help, this Nuwa clan team will not be able to escape. Duan Jiping was in a good mood and was quite excited. In the next few days, the Snowflame Valley had not been completely opened. The number of cultivators in the open space increased, and the excess territory decreased. Chapter 41:20. Soon, the silence of the Snowflame Valley was completely broken by the arrival of a team. This team was from the Witchcraft God Clan. The leaders were the clan leader of the Witchcraft God Clan, Mo Liuhua, and the Domain Guardian, Mo Faiyu. No one expected that the only two great carefree realm experts of the Witchcraft God Domain would come. It was clear that the Witchcraft God Clan attached great importance to this battle for the tomb. Clan leader Mo, we've been waiting here for so long. I think it's time for you to open the Snowflame Valley. After the Witchcraft God Clan team arrived, a green-robed elder slowly walked out of his immortal abode and spoke slowly. His voice was as loud as a bell, spreading throughout the Snowflame Valley. The green-robed elder's aura was extremely vast, not much weaker than Duan Jiping's. Clearly, he was also an expert at the peak of the Cosmos Tribulation. After the green-robed elder spoke, the experts of the Cosmos Tribulation all walked out of their respective immortal abodes and looked at the Witchcraft God Clan team with unfriendly eyes. The entrance to the Snowflame Valley had always been mysterious. Even most of the practitioners of the Witchcraft God Domain found it difficult to find the real entrance. The Snowflame Valley was surrounded by an extremely powerful natural restriction. It was said that the restriction had reached the eternal level. Even an expert of the great carefree realm might not be able to find it in a short time. The entrance. Most of the practitioners of the Witchcraft God Domain knew that although the entrance to the natural restriction was mysterious, it had always been in the hands of the higher-ups of the Witchcraft God Clan. As long as the Witchcraft God Clan was willing to open the real entrance to the Snowflame Valley, they could all enter the Snowflame Valley. Of course, although the natural restriction was powerful, there was no lack of experts of the Cosmos Tribulation here. If they could overcome all difficulties and join forces, even a natural restriction could be destroyed by force. However, they did not take action for a long time. Firstly, it was because these people came from various forces and their hearts were not united. Secondly, they were worried that if they forcefully destroyed the natural restriction, it might destroy the Snowflame Valley and affect the birth of the Snowflame Valley. The tomb of the Cosmic Dharma experts. Everyone understood that they had gathered outside the Snowflame Valley these days, mainly to wait for the people of the Witchcraft God Domain to arrive. As long as the people of the Witchcraft God Domain were willing to open the Snowflame Valley, it would naturally be a happy ending. All eyes fell on Mo Liuhua and Mo Faiyu, who were at the front of the Witchcraft God Clan team. They knew that the right to make the decision now. Mo Liuhua and Mo Fingyo's faces turned extremely grave. They naturally understood the stakes involved. If they could not give a satisfactory answer, the experts gathered here would likely gang up on them. Everyone, we can understand your feelings. We will naturally open the Snow Flame Valley. Mo Liuhua said in a low voice. Valley, 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 valley. Because Liuhua, you cosmos god domain. Valley, 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 valley. Hua valley, 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 god, valley, god. Valley, 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 valleys, valley. Valley, 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 god domain, god domain. Liuhua, oh, god, valley, valley. As long as you are willing to open up the Snow Flame Valley, as long as your request is not too excessive, we will naturally agree. The green-robed elder who spoke at the beginning replied. On the empty ground, everyone gently nodded their heads, agreeing with the green-robed elder's words. The tomb of a cosmic Dharma expert is about to be born in the Snow Flame Valley. I think everyone knows about this. Our request is not too much. If the Witchcraft God clan can enter the deepest part of the tomb, we ask to be the first to choose. We can choose a treasure. The rest of the treasures will depend on our own ability. How about that? Mo Liuhua said indifferently. Everyone was in an uproar when they heard this. In their opinion, Mo Liuhua's request was a little too much. Of course, this was for the cosmic tribulation experts. For most ancient star transformation cultivators, it did not affect them. After all, they were only ancient star transformation cultivators and could not compete with the cosmic tribulation experts. Therefore, they could only pick up the treasures outside the tomb. If you don't agree, the Witchcraft God clan has a backbone. Even if both sides suffer losses, we will not easily compromise. Mo Liuhua said in a low voice. Faced with Mo Liuhua's rather unyielding attitude, everyone frowned without leaving a trace. The green-robed elder thought for a while and said calmly, "There's a premise. There must be at least 3 treasures in the deepest part of the tomb. We can allow the Sorcerer clan to have the priority to choose one." After the green-robed elder made this suggestion, no one present objected. Obviously, they all agreed with this suggestion. Okay, Mo Liuhua nodded. Since we have reached an agreement, clan leader Mo, why don't you open the Snow Flame Valley? Z said impatiently. Next, Mo Liuhua and Mo Fengyu looked at each other. They each took out a jade token and came to a remote cliff in the Snow Flame Valley. The two of them formed hand seals and sent waves of divine power into their respective jade tokens. The dense and complicated patterns on the jade tokens began to light up and then turned into 2 snakes of light. They quickly intertwined and rushed into the Snow Flame Valley. After about 10 breaths of time, a beam of light shot out of the Snow Flame Valley. It pierced the clouds and pierced the sky. Under the astonished gazes of the crowd, the beam of light actually bent downwards, landing on the cliff where Mo Liuhua and the others were. This beam of light is the passageway into the Snow Flame Valley. Everyone, our Witchcraft God clan will go first. Mo Liuhua casually explained and led the Witchcraft God clan team into the Snow Flame Valley through the beam of light. This Mo Liuhua is really cunning. He took advantage of the fact that we are not familiar with the entrance and rushed into the Snow Flame Valley first. Duan Jiping could not help but curse. Many cultivators in the open space were also rather dissatisfied. However, after their dissatisfaction, their eyes were filled with intense passion. The Snow Flame Valley is finally open. Let's rush in. After a short delay, everyone in the open space rushed into the beam of light and was sent into the Snow Flame Valley by the power of the beam of light. Even the experts of the great calamity of heaven and earth were unwilling to fall behind and rushed in at the first moment. Brother Zhua, Brother Lin, and Miss Ling Long, let's go in too. Remember, we should be together at all times. Don't fall behind. Duan Jiping said to Zhuowen and the other 2 in a low voice. Lin Long and his wife looked at Zhuowen disdainfully and nodded cautiously at Duan Jiping. Chapter 41:21. Is this the Snow Flame Valley? Zhuowen stood on a huge rock and looked around. He realized that he was surrounded by a vast valley that seemed to have no end. He could only vaguely see the silhouettes of mountains in the distance. What was even more bizarre was that snowflakes were falling down from the sky in this gigantic valley. Zhuowen reached out his right hand and caught a snowflake. He was surprised to find that these snowflakes were white flames about the size of a fingernail. However, these white flames did not have any temperature. Instead, they were filled with extreme coldness, the kind that went deep into one's bones. This is called the snow flame flower. It's a type of cold flame. The Snow Flame Valley got its name because of this snow flame flower. These strange snow flame flowers fall here all year round. As for the specific reason, no one knows. When Duan Jiping saw Zhuowen's astonished expression, he patiently explained, "Brother Duan, let's stop here. We didn't enter the Snow Flame Valley to talk to some people, but to find the tomb of the universe's Dharma power that is about to be born. Let's not waste any more time. Let's go deeper into the Snow Flame Valley." Linlong said unhappily. Duan Jiping frowned. He did not like Linlong's attitude. He wanted to explain that Zhuowen was also a powerful formation master, but he was stopped by Zhuowen. "Brother Duan, let's go deeper into the Snow Flame Valley," Zhuowen said lightly. Duan Jiping could only give up. He then led the three of them into the depths of the Snow Flame Valley. In the Snow Flame Valley, other than the snow flame flowers that bloomed all year round, there were also many powerful strange beasts. Due to the special characteristics of the snow flame flowers, evil spirits, ghosts, and other non-existent evil creatures were unable to survive in such an environment. Therefore, in the Snow Flame Valley, Zhuowen had not met any evil spirits or ghosts. Boom! An ape covered in golden scales fell heavily to the ground, lifeless. Linlong slowly put away his long spear. A cold smile appeared on the corner of his mouth as he said indifferently, "The strange beasts in this Snow Flame Valley are quite strong. I can't believe I encountered a big guy at the half-step carefree realm." As he spoke, Linlong looked at Zhuowen, who was standing at the side and had yet to make a move. He continued, "Little brother Zhuo, it's a good thing that you followed us. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to come so deep into the Snow Flame Valley alone." Linlong covered her mouth and giggled. "Husband, you're so naughty. You clearly know that little brother Zhuo's strength is lacking. How could he possibly be a match for this giant golden-striped ape? All right, we're almost at the deepest part of the Snow Flame Valley. There might still be cosmos beasts here. Everyone, be careful," Duan Jiping said coldly. Linlong's eyes were blazing as he said, "This also means that we are closer to the tomb. I just don't know when the tomb of the Cosmic Dharma Adept will appear. We only need to wait in the deepest part of the Snow Flame Valley. Once the tomb appears, we can immediately enter." Linlong giggled. Suddenly, a violent tremor came from the depths of the Snow Flame Valley. It was as if a large group of things were rapidly rushing out from the depths. "This is..." Duan Jiping's eyes were filled with confusion. "Quick, hide in the cave on the left cliff. It's a group of beasts." Zhuowen's expression suddenly changed. He shouted sternly and pulled Duan Jiping into the cave on the side. His consciousness had a wide range and was extremely sensitive. Before Duan Jiping and the others could react, he had already detected the source of the tremor in the distance. It was a dense group of beasts. Like an unstoppable wave, they were rapidly rushing over. Under Zhuowen's investigation, there was no lack of terrifying cosmos beasts with the aura of the universe tribulation within this beast tide. In the face of such a group of beasts, even the four of them would be trampled into meat paste if they did not temporarily hide. What nonsense are you talking about? It's just an ordinary earthquake. Within the range of my consciousness, I didn't detect any cosmos beasts. You're just an ancient star transformation guy. Do you think your consciousness is stronger than mine?" Linlong snorted coldly. It was Zhuowen's suggestion. "Brother Lin, whether it's true or not, it's best that we hide here and wait for the changes," Duan Jiping advised. Linlong shook his head and said, "In any case, I'm an expert of the Qian Kuan tribulation, so how could I possibly listen to a piece of ancient star transformation trash? Wouldn't that make me as trash as him? Duan Jiping was furious. This Linlong really looked down on Zhuowen and did not give him any face at all. This made Duan Jiping very unhappy. Husband, it seems like it's really a group of beasts. While Linlong and Duan Jiping were talking, Linlong, who was standing next to Linlong, turned pale and hurriedly shook Linlong's arm. Linlong came back to his senses and spread out his consciousness. He finally discovered a group of beasts that were rapidly rushing over. This group of beasts was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, they rushed in front of them and trampled on them. Judging from the reactions of these beasts, they were not targeting Linlong and Linglong. Instead, they were fleeing in panic. Damn it, let's retreat. Linlong summoned his powerful divine power and joined forces with Linglong to repel part of the group of beasts. They planned to escape to the cave where Zhuowen and Duan Jiping were. However, there were simply too many beasts. Under the encirclement of the beasts, their speed was very slow. It could be described as difficult to move forward. Roar! Just as they were slowly approaching the cave, two beasts of universal calamity immediately discovered Linlong and Linglong. With a loud roar, they suddenly rushed out and launched a fierce attack on the couple. Linlong and Linglong were already having a hard time because they were in the middle of the group of beasts. Now that they were being attacked by two beasts of universal calamity, they were immediately in imminent danger. Damn it, we can't hold back anymore. Attack with all our might. Linlong's expression was ugly. He immediately released his universal world. Linglong naturally cooperated with Linlong. The two Qian Kuan worlds overlapped, erupting with an extremely terrifying power. The two beasts of universal calamity were also extremely extraordinary. They each released their own universal worlds and fiercely collided with Linlong and Linglong. The terrifying shockwaves from the battle spread out in all directions like ocean waves. Many of the weaker exotic beasts were directly annihilated into dust. However, the beast horde continued to charge forward one after another. Almost all of them were not afraid of death. As for Linlong and Linglong, they were completely stalled by the two beasts of universal calamity. They cannot escape at all. Brother Zhua, this group of beasts is a little strange. Look at these beasts. They are all panicking and running away as if they are afraid of something. Duan Jiping observed the group of beasts around them and said in a low voice. Zhuowen nodded in agreement. He glanced at the depths of Snow Flame Valley. He had a feeling that something was about to be born in the depths. Chapter 41:22. Brother Duan, save us. While Zhuowen and Duan Jiping were talking, Linlong and his wife, who were already in a precarious situation, could no longer hold on due to the addition of the third universal calamity beast. They threw their dignity aside and began to call for Duan Jiping's help. Duan Jiping frowned slightly. He did not like what Linlong had done, but these two were his companions after all. He could not just leave them in the lurch. Just as Duan Jiping was about to help, Zhuowen pulled him back. Brother Duan, this beast tide is too terrifying. Even if you go out, I'm afraid not only will you not be able to save Linlong and his wife, but you'll also lose your life. Zhuowen said calmly. Duan Jiping's heart trembled. He silently looked at the terrifying beast tide outside and fell silent. Zhuowen was right. Although he was strong, this beast tide was too large. If he really got trapped, he was not confident that he could escape unscathed, let alone save Linlong and his wife. Zhuowen, what are you trying to do? Linlong and his wife were busy dealing with the attacks of the three universal calamity beasts, but they had been paying attention to Zhuowen and Duan Jiping. Naturally, they heard the conversation between the two. Their expressions changed drastically, and they were extremely dissatisfied with Zhuowen. Duan Jiping showed a trace of pity. He smiled bitterly and said, Brother Zhua, I've implicated you this time. I wanted to bring you along for an opportunity, but I didn't expect. Moreover, Linlong and his wife are my companions. I can't leave them alone. Brother Zhua, just hide here and don't move. Nothing can happen, so don't come out. Just wait for the beast tide to pass and then leave. I'll go save him first. Brothers. After saying that, Duan Jiping stood up with a determined look in his eyes. Zhuan shrugged. Although he was not very fond of Lin Long and his wife, he could not watch Duan Jiping fall into danger alone. Brother Duan, I have a way to save them. Zhuan suddenly said. You have a way? What is it? Duan Jiping looked at Zhuan rather excitedly. After Zhuan discovered the beast tide in advance, Duan Jiping realized that the young man in front of him was definitely not simple. He was probably more powerful than he had imagined. Therefore, when Zhuan said he had a way, Duan Jiping's first reaction, not only did he not believe him, but he was excited. Lin Long and his wife, who were still fighting the three beasts, and their expressions who were still fighting the three beasts were fighting. They naturally did not believe Jiping's opinions right. They were, and Jiping to Jiping. Where Jiping had Jiping's now, they would, even if he himself would die to save them to help himself. Them would be ins to would die to died. To help. He would beasts would be. The three, theirs. At this moment, in the cave, under Duan Jiping's excited gaze, Zhuan slowly took out 3 array discs. These are the teleportation arrays I set up temporarily. I set the teleportation location in this cave. As long as you can get close to Lin Long and his wife and hand them the array discs, you'll be able to escape. Zhuan said in a deep voice. Temporary teleportation array? It's easy to interfere with. With the 3 Cosmos Tribulation exotic beasts around, I'm afraid this temporary teleportation array won't be of any use at all. Duan Jiping said with a frown. Zhuan said with a faint smile, You're talking about an ordinary temporary teleportation array. This array disk also contains a first firmament of eternal level defensive restriction. It's enough to buy you enough time to teleport. Duan Jiping's pupils shrank. A first firmament of eternal level defensive restriction? This was a priceless item. Even if it was him, it would still be difficult for him to purchase such a large array. However, Zhuan had casually taken out 3 array discs containing such a high level of restriction. He even suspected that Zhuan was bragging. But after seeing Zhuan's serious eyes, Duan Jiping nodded heavily. He chose to believe in Zhuan. I'm sure I can get close to them. I'll go first. Duan Jiping glanced at Zhuan. With a stomp of his foot, a terrifying aura burst out from his body. Then, the powerful energy dissipated, forming a huge shadow of the cosmos world in the void behind him. The moment Duan Jiping swept out, the nearby exotic beasts discovered him, but they did not take the initiative to attack. Instead, they continued to flee in panic. Although the exotic beasts did not attack Duan Jiping, Lin Long and his wife were in the center of the beast tide. If Duan Jiping wanted to get close to them, he would have to repel some of the beast tide. Thinking of this, Duan Jiping's eyes revealed a trace of ruthlessness. He suddenly rushed into the beast tide. Powerful divine power erupted like an unbridled storm. Wherever Duan Jiping passed by, the exotic beasts were sent flying in all directions, wailing in agony. Duan Jiping's rude and unreasonable actions finally angered the exotic beasts in his vicinity. They gave up on running away one after another, and instead launched extremely fierce attacks at Duan Jiping furiously. Duan Jiping's face was solemn. The huge cosmos world surrounded his body. Rolling divine power burst out like a deep abyss, blocking all the exotic beasts around him. Boom, boom, boom. Suddenly, a terrifying collision sound was heard. Duan Jiping groaned and was forced to stop. Then, he discovered with an ugly expression that another Cosmos Tribulation exotic beast had appeared in the beast tide. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws as it launched a fierce attack at him. Fortunately, this exotic beast was slightly weaker than the 3 exotic beasts that were attacking Lin Long and his wife. It was only at the early stage of the Cosmos Tribulation. Duan Jiping snorted coldly and no longer held back. He opened his right hand, and the endless tribulation energy in the cosmos world was seized by him, transforming it into a large divine spear that was several meters long. Duan Jiping held the divine spear and took a step forward. He arrived in front of the exotic beast and swept out his right hand, smashing heavily onto the exotic beast's body. Crackle! A rather horrifying sound rang out. The exotic beast let out a miserable cry and was blasted flying. Its entire body was enveloped by the tribulation energy, and it constantly twitched. On the other hand, Duan Jiping's footsteps did not stop. He was like a god that had descended to the mortal world. He constantly blasted away the exotic beasts in front of him and slowly approached Lin Long and his wife. On the other hand, Lin Long and his wife were not happy. They were worried that Duan Jiping could come in, but he might not be able to bring them out. After all, the three exotic beasts that were attacking them were at the late stage of the cosmos tribulation. The exotic beasts were eyeing them covetously. Chapter 41:23. Duan Jiping's eyes shone with a cold light as he watched the beast approach. He raised the calamity spear with his right hand and threw it out. Swoosh! The calamity spear pierced through space and turned into a blazing stream of light that smashed into the beast. Boom! Boom! A violent explosion rang out. The world that the strange beast had manifested trembled violently under the attack of the spear of calamity. The strange beast let out a wail and was sent flying. Its body seemed to be on the verge of collapsing as blood splattered across the sky. Duan Jiping's eyes were calm as he raised his right hand. Terrifying strength borrowed the power of the calamity of universe to separate the surrounding beast tide by hundreds of meters. Duan Jiping charged towards Lin Long and his wife at an even faster speed. Lin Long and his wife were overjoyed when they saw Duan Jiping cleanly finish off a late-stage Great Tribulation exotic beast. The pressure on them lessened a lot, and they gradually gained the upper hand in the battle with the two exotic beasts. When Duan Jiping arrived beside them, they had already repelled the beast. Screech! A clear screech suddenly sounded from behind the beast's tide. Then Duan Jiping and the others were shocked to discover that a wisp of golden light was slowly rising behind them. It was rushing over at an unbelievable speed. It was a giant divine bird that burned with golden flames. When it spread its wings, they were hundreds of meters wide. In particular, the aura emitted by the divine bird was too vast and terrifying. It was like a boundless mountain was crushing down, and it was impossible to turn the situation around. A beast at the peak of the calamity of universe? How is this possible? The moment Duan Jiping and the others saw the divine bird, their expressions changed drastically, especially when they sensed the powerful aura on its body. What terrified them even more was that after the divine bird flew out, 7 or 8 extremely powerful beasts followed closely behind and charged towards Duan Jiping and the others. And these beasts were all at the late stage of the calamity of universe. If they were surrounded by this group of beasts, it would be basically impossible for Duan Jiping and the others to escape. We're doomed. A beast at the peak of the calamity of universe, and so many late-stage beasts. We can't deal with them at all, Ling Long said with a ghastly pale face. Screech, the divine bird, whose entire body was burning with golden flames, stared sharply at Duan Jiping and the others below. It let out a crisp cry, and then quickly swooped down like a falling sun. The 7 or 8 terrifying beasts followed closely behind. Each of them was filled with murderous intent and was unstoppable. Quick, take this disc and activate the teleportation array on it. Duan Jiping was shocked. He quickly took out the disc array and handed it to Lin Long and his wife. This is a temporary teleportation array disc array. Brother Duan, are you crazy? It takes a while to teleport, and that's enough time for the divine bird to kill us many times over, Lin Long said with an ugly expression. Trust me, there's still a first-layer eternal grade heaven and earth defensive restriction on this disc array. It's enough to delay us until we teleport away." After he finished speaking, Ling's the teleportation array, teleportation array. Instantly, a blazing white light gushed out of the disk array and enveloped Duan Jiping. Seeing Duan Jiping activate the disk array, Lin Long and his wife knew that this was the only way. They gritted their teeth and activated the disk array. 3 rays of white light enveloped the 3 of them, and the surrounding space began to distort. The golden divine bird's sharp eyes became even colder. Its intelligence was not much weaker than that of human cultivators. In fact, it was even smarter. Therefore, when it saw the 3 of them activating the teleportation array disk, it knew that Duan Jiping and the others were going to escape. Therefore, its speed soared and it shot out like a sharp arrow. In the blink of an eye, the golden divine bird shot in front of Duan Jiping and the others. It opened its mouth and spat out endless golden divine flames. The golden divine flame was simply too terrifying. As soon as it was shot out, it seemed as if the entire space was about to be burned into nothingness. The surrounding space cracked, and even the laws were incinerated. Lin Long and his wife's expressions changed drastically. They wanted to escape, but they were in the middle of the teleportation. If they tried to escape, they would suffer a strong backlash. Therefore, they watched helplessly as the terrifying golden divine flames swept towards them. In the blink of an eye, it was right in front of them. "We're doomed," Lin Long and his wife thought to themselves. Just when they thought that they were doomed, the golden divine flames rushed towards them. However, they did not feel any heat or pain. They saw that the disk array that was suspended around them suddenly burst out with a ray of green light. It overflowed like a breeze and formed a faint green barrier around them. As for the green barrier, it was constantly surging with green energy. It felt like a withered tree coming back to life. What surprised the Lin Long couple even more was that the green barrier was able to withstand the terrifying golden flames. When Duan Jiping saw that the green barrier had blocked the golden flames, he finally let out a long sigh of relief. Although Zhuowen had said that there was a first heavenly layer eternal level defensive restriction in the disk array, there was no proof. It was entirely because he trusted Zhuowen that he took the disk array to save them without even trying. However, when Duan Jiping came back to his senses, his eyes became extremely shocked. This was a first heavenly layer eternal level defensive restriction. Yet, Zhuowen took it out just like that to save someone. This was too generous. Could it be that Brother Zhua is actually an eternal level divine array master? Duan Jiping suddenly had such an idea in his mind. The more he thought about it, the more likely it was. When Zhuowen casually arranged a half-step eternal level formation inscription, he thought that Zhuowen was just a half-step eternal level divine array master. Now it seemed that he had underestimated Zhuowen. After all, it was not just a half-step eternal level divine array master who could arrange a half-step eternal level formation inscription. An eternal level divine array master could arrange it even more easily. Duan Jiping's heart was full of excitement. If Zhuowen was really an eternal level divine array master, not only would he not be a burden, but he might also be the most useful existence in their group. Lin Long and his wife also recognized the level of this defensive restriction. They looked at each other and revealed a look of shock. Boom, boom, boom. Seeing that the divine flames were blocked, the golden divine bird became very angry and began to attack wildly. Waves of terrifying attacks fell on the green barrier, causing extremely dense ripples to appear on the barrier. When the golden divine bird launched a fierce attack, the 7 or 8 exotic beasts that followed were not to be outdone. They all released their Qiankuan world. Suddenly, Duan Jiping and the other two's faces changed drastically. Under the attacks of these exotic beasts, the green barrier around them began to tremble violently and cracks began to appear. Chapter 41-24. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 3 white lights appeared in the cave where Zhuowen was, and then 3 figures appeared. It was Duan Jiping, Lin Long, and his wife. "Brother Zhua, you're amazing. Thank you." Duan Jiping spread out his hands, his eyes revealing a look of joy, and then looked at Zhuowen excitedly. Lin Long and his wife were also quite surprised, and at the same time looked at Zhuowen with complicated eyes. They also knew from Duan Jiping that the 3 formation discs were provided by Zhuowen. If they were not mistaken, the cyan barrier that appeared in the 3 formation discs should be a first heaven of the eternal grade restriction. Otherwise, it would be impossible to block the joint attack of so many alien beasts of universe and buy enough time for them to teleport. However, what they did not understand was that a first heaven of the eternal grade formation disc was extremely precious. Even they might not be willing to buy such a formation disc. However, Zhuowen was only at the middle stage of the ancient star transformation realm. Not only did he have such a formation disc, but he also used it to save them. "It's okay. It's just a small matter," Zhuowen said with a smile. Duan Jiping looked at Zhuowen with blazing eyes and said excitedly, "Brother Zhua, you're also a first heaven of the eternal grade divine formation master, right?" Zhuowen was taken aback and then nodded, saying, "Brother Duan, you really have good taste." Lin Long and his wife were so shocked that their jaws almost fell, and they looked at Zhuowen in disbelief. "Brother Zhua, thank you for saving our lives. If it weren't for Brother Zhua, we would have been beheaded." Lin Long and his wife came forward and thanked Zhuowen submissively. At the same time, they also apologized for their previous rude behavior. Although Zhuowen's strength was weaker than theirs, with the addition of an eternal level array Godmaster, he was much more useful than them. After all, eternal grade divine formation masters were much rarer than great carefree realm experts. Zhuowen smiled. He didn't care about Lin Long and his wife's attitude towards him. Lin Long and his wife heaved a sigh of relief when they saw that Zhuowen did not pursue the matter. After all, it was not a good thing to offend an eternal level divine array master. Boom! Boom! At this moment, a terrifying explosion came from outside the cave. The faces of Zhuowen and Duan Jiping flickered slightly. Through their spiritual powers, they discovered that outside the cave, the divine bird, whose entire body was burning with golden flames, was leading 7 to 8 beasts of universal calamity and crazily attacking the formation outside the cave. Fortunately, Zhuowen had already set up a powerful array outside the cave. Otherwise, the cave would have been crushed by the divine bird. "Brother Zhua, their attacks are too ferocious. I'm afraid your formation won't last long, right?" Duan Jiping said with a pale face. Zhuowen's 10 fingers moved in quick succession. Formation runes surged out like a tidal wave, constantly mending the damaged parts of the formation outside the cave. "This is not a long-term solution. Brother Zhua, the rate at which the formation is being damaged is much faster than the rate at which you can repair it." Lin Long and his wife also came to the entrance of the cave, looking quite frightened. "The beast tide is escaping. As long as we can hold on, these beasts won't stay for long," Zhuowen said calmly. About a quarter of an hour later, the divine bird outside the cave led 7 to 8 beasts. They let out extremely unwilling cries, then gave up the attack and fled outside. After the beast tide left, Zhuowen breathed a sigh of relief and stopped fiddling with his 10 fingers. As for the great array outside the cave, it could no longer withstand Zhuowen's actions and collapsed. Zhuowen's face was pale, and he had a splitting headache. His spirit was damaged because of this. After all, the combined attack of 7 to 8 beasts and a divine bird at the peak of the cosmos tribulation was very difficult for even Zhuowen to resist. If the beasts had not retreated first, Zhuowen might not have been able to hold on. After the beast tide retreated, Zhuowen and the others came out of the cave. After that, a terrifying pressure spread out from the depths of the Snowflame Valley and covered the entire Snowflame Valley. "Look, what's that?" Zhuowen and the others hurriedly came out of the cave and saw a pillar of light shooting into the sky from the depths of the Snowflame Valley, as if it had pierced through the sky. At the same time, Figures dashed out from every corner of the snow flame valley like a swarm of locusts as they charged towards the location of the light pillar. It must be the birth of the cosmic aspect tomb. Let's go and take a look. Duan Jipeng's eyes were filled with excitement as he led Zhuowen and the others into the depths. Due to the beast tide, the deeper they went into the snow flame valley, the fewer beasts there were. When they arrived at the open space where the light pillar was, they did not see any more beasts. The source of the light pillar was a deep pool that was thousands of feet wide. At this moment, a huge whirlpool had appeared in the center of the pool, and the light pillar was formed from the whirlpool and shot into the sky. They also realized that the figures from every corner of the snow flame valley had all rushed into the whirlpool. The tomb of the cosmic aspect expert should be in the depths of the whirlpool, Duan Jipeng said with a burning gaze. It seems that many people have already entered the depths of the tomb. Let's go in quickly, Linlong said anxiously. Zhuowen stopped them, which made Duan Jipeng and the others very confused. Don't go in first. This whirlpool is not simple. Zhuowen's eyes were solemn. His consciousness was stronger than Duan Jipeng's and the others, so he realized that there was something strange about the whirlpool. In addition, he also found many powerful auras in the 4 huge mountains around the pool, and some of them were very familiar. These people had obviously arrived early, but they deliberately hid in the mountains and did not go in. They must have realized that there was something strange about the whirlpool. At this moment, shrill screams came from the whirlpool, and then it quieted down in an instant. After a short period of silence, a strange clicking sound came from the depths of the whirlpool. The sound was like the noise of rusty gears that were struggling to turn, and it was very unpleasant to the ears. The strange sound became louder and louder, and finally, under Zhuowen's shocked gaze, a bronze tombstone rushed out of the whirlpool and broke into pieces in midair. After the tombstone broke into pieces, a complete world continued to expand and hung in midair above the snow flame valley. This is the inner world of the cosmic aspect expert, right? His tomb must be in here. It seems that it was a trap, and whoever enters it will die, Zhuowen said calmly. Duan Jipeng and Linlong were sweating profusely. They had been overjoyed just now, and fortunately, Zhuowen had stopped them. Otherwise, they would not have had a good ending. It's safe now. Go in. The moment this world appeared, a devilish purple-haired youth rushed into the sky from a mountain, turned into a purple light, and jumped into the world. The purple-haired youth was like a catalyst. When he rushed into the world, the many experts in the surrounding mountains who had been waiting for a long time appeared and rushed into the world. Let's go. We can't fall behind. Chapter 41:25. Boom, boom, boom. When Zhuowen and the others entered this strange world, they immediately noticed that it was filled with all kinds of extremely powerful tribulations. They landed at the bottom of a remote cliff, and a black lightning bolt as thick as a bucket struck down, cutting off the top of the cliff. Countless huge rocks fell towards them. This is the inner world of a cosmic Dharma powerhouse. It's much more powerful than the Qian Kuan world of a cosmic tribulation powerhouse. Try to avoid the tribulations in this world. Don't take them head on, Duan Jipeng said solemnly. Zhuowen and Linlong nodded. They didn't need Duan Jipeng's reminder. They could already feel the terrifying tribulations that existed throughout the entire world. There must be a large number of treasures left behind by that cosmic Dharma powerhouse in this world. If we can get one, it'll be an unimaginable opportunity. Linlong and his wife's eyes were filled with excitement. If we can find the real tomb of that cosmic Dharma powerhouse, it'll be a great opportunity. Zhuowen smiled faintly. That's too difficult. There are too many powerhouses entering the tomb this time. It'll be difficult for us to compete with them. Linlong and his wife shook their heads and smiled bitterly. That's not necessarily true. Zhuowen shook his head and took the lead to rush into the depths of the world. Half a day later, Zhuowen and the others arrived at a red maple forest. In this maple forest, Red maple leaves floated and swept through the forest like a sea of blood. It was as if there were agile blood pythons hidden in the forest. At this moment, there were many cultivators outside this blood-like forest. They all stopped and didn't dare to move forward, their faces full of fear. This forest is strange. Let's not go in first. Let's ask the others first. Duan Jiping raised his head and landed beside the nearest cultivator. After the young cultivator felt Duan Jiping's powerful aura, his expression changed slightly. He didn't dare to neglect Duan Jiping's questions and basically answered everything he knew. It said that there's a divine herb garden hidden in the depths of this blood-red forest. Previously, several powerhouses of the Great Tribulation of Universe broke in and even took out an eternal rank 1 divine herb. When he spoke up to hear, Duan Jiping's expression became solemn instead, and he continued. However, this blood-red forest is extremely terrifying. Supposedly, even those experts of the universe tribulation were heavily injured and barely escaped with their lives. Are you going to go in? The Linlong couple's expressions changed slightly. Even an expert of the Great Tribulation of Universe had been severely injured. This blood forest was definitely not simple. Wealth comes from danger. If you're not even willing to take this little risk, how can you still want to advance bravely on the path of cultivation? Zhuowen said solemnly. When Lin Long and his wife saw that Zhuowen had agreed to go in, they gritted their teeth and agreed to explore the depths of this place. Good, let's go in. Duan Jiping nodded and led the three of them towards the entrance of the Scarlet Forest. However, just as they were about to step into the entrance of the Scarlet Forest, a divine spear came through the air and blasted towards where Duan Jiping and the others were. Duan Jiping's expression changed slightly. With a wave of his sleeve, he swept Zhuowen and the other two away and fiercely retreated backwards. Boom! The divine spear moved as fast as lightning, and in the blink of an eye, it arrived at the entrance of the Scarlet Forest. Intense energy ripples spread out, and the ground directly exploded into a huge crater. In the middle of the crater, a silver divine spear stood there quietly. A sparkling silver-white light flickered on the spear's body. Who is it? Duan Jiping frowned and asked with an unsightly expression. Hee. This young master has taken a fancy to this treasure land. Scram. A gentle but domineering voice came from the distance. Everyone saw a group of cultivators quickly approaching. Strangely, the cultivators of this group were all in the form of human faces and snake bodies. It's actually the Nuwa clan's team. Outside the blood-colored forest, numerous whispers rang out. Fear was revealed in their eyes. The Nuwa clan was one of the higher realms. Their foundation was much deeper than the average higher realms. Most of them here were independent cultivators and cultivators from lower realms. They really didn't dare to offend the Nuwa clan. At the front of the Nuwa clan's team was a gentle-looking youth. He was the genius ranked 72nd on the Outer World rankings, Lai Rong. The one who had spoken arrogantly was Lai Rong. The Nuwa clan's team landed at the entrance of the Scarlet Forest. Lai Rong waved his right hand, and the silver divine spear appeared in his hand. He then looked at Zhuowen, Duan Jiping, and the other two with a rather arrogant gaze. Duan Jiping's gaze slowly turned cold. They had really searched high and low for something. He had originally wanted to cause trouble for the Nuwa clan, but he hadn't expected Lai Rong to deliver himself to his doorstep. Zhuowen was carefully sizing up Lai Rong as well. Duan Jiping had told him that the fastest way to obtain a token to enter the Outer Realm battlefield was to seize a cultivator who possessed such a token. They didn't know if the others who had entered this time possessed a slot token, but basically all the geniuses on the Outer World rankings possessed one. Thus, Duan Jiping had already set a few targets for Zhuowen before they entered, and Lai Rong was one of them. Why aren't you scramming? Lai Rong couldn't help but frown when he saw that Zhuowen, Duan Jiping, and the other two were sizing him up with a strange gaze. He shouted coldly, Haha, how impressive. Could it be that the Nuwa clan owns this Scarlet Forest? Duan Jiping mocked. Oh, You really are bold. You clearly know that we're from the Nuwa clan, yet you still dare to provoke us. Do you think your life is too long? Lai Rong's gaze turned cold. Young master, do you want me to annihilate them? The black-robed old man by Lai Rong's side spoke in a sinister voice. Elder He, then I'll have to trouble you to kill all 4 of them. Lai Rong looked down indifferently at Zhuowen and the others, and it was as if he was looking at ants. Elder He nodded, and then he stepped through the air and looked indifferently at Duan Jipeng's group of 4. He said, all of you shouldn't have offended the young master. If you had F***** off early, you wouldn't have suffered such a calamity. Unfortunately, all of you insist on courting death. As he spoke, Elder He suddenly released his aura. Instantly, the entire Scarlet Forest trembled violently under his aura, and layers of strange distortions appeared in the surrounding space. A peak expert of the universe, tribulation. At the outer area of the Scarlet Forest, all the cultivators gasped when they sensed the terrifying aura on Elder He, and their eyes were filled with terror. Chapter 41:26. Shouldn't be offended? You guys think too highly of yourselves. Duan Jipeng laughed. He took a step forward and floated in front of Elder He. His terrifying aura, no weaker than Elder He's, burst out and completely blocked Elder He's pressure. Another expert at the pinnacle of the great Qian Kuan tribulation. How terrifying! The crowd was in an uproar. Obviously, they did not expect the unknown Jipeng group of 4 to have a pinnacle expert at the pinnacle of the great Qian Kuan tribulation. Who are you? Lai Rong frowned slightly as he coldly glanced at Duan Jipeng. He did not expect that this unfamiliar fellow would actually be an expert with such strength. There were not many pinnacle experts at the pinnacle of the great Qian Kuan tribulation who had entered the tomb this time. He recognized most of them. However, the man in front of him was very unfamiliar, and he did not recognize him. Moreover, he keenly noticed that Duan Jipeng's face had obviously been changed. This guy was not using his real face. Duan Jipeng grinned and did not answer Lai Rong. Instead, he stepped into the void with his right foot and rushed past Elder He toward Lai Rong. Humph! You're courting death. Elder He snorted and summoned his Qian Kuan world. He seized the tribulation energy within and turned it into countless thunderbolts that blasted toward Duan Jipeng. Duan Jipeng frowned and had to turn around and summon his Qian Kuan world to resist the tribulation energy released by Elder He. When Duan Jipeng had completely neutralized the thunderbolt energy, Elder He had already appeared in front of him and launched a thunderbolt attack on him without hesitation. Boom! 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 The energy shock waves caused by the 2 pinnacle experts of the great Qian Kuan tribulation were extremely terrifying. Endless energy fluctuations swept out in all directions like waves. Wherever they passed, the earth cracked and the sky darkened. The faces of the many cultivators who had gathered outside the blood forest changed drastically. They retreated and watched from afar. What made everyone even more shocked was that the blood forest, which seemed to be unable to withstand a single blow, was actually completely unharmed in the battle. This blood forest really has some tricks up its sleeves. The special arrangement of the trees inside has formed an extremely complicated and powerful defensive formation. Its power is comparable to a formation at the first heaven of the eternal level. Zhuowen retreated into the distance. His eyes landed on the blood forest as he muttered in his heart, Brother Zhuo, what should we do now? Lin Long and his wife were a little flustered. After all, the Nuwa clan was not a small force. It was a true hegemon. Offending the Nuwa clan here was not a good thing for them. Now that you're here, it's not the time to be apprehensive. If you want to obtain the good fortune, then you must pay a sufficient price. Go and capture Lai Rong. I will set up a formation behind you to support you, Zhuowen said calmly. Although Lin Long and his wife were opportunistic, they knew the severity of the situation. Therefore, they summoned their respective Chinkun worlds and charged towards Lai Rong. It's actually two late-stage universe tribulation experts. What exactly is the background of this team? Isn't this lineup a little too terrifying? When Lin Long and his wife also made their move, the surrounding crowd was really shocked, and there was an uproar. Lai Rong's eyes narrowed. His originally calm face finally showed a trace of surprise. This is interesting. 9 protectors, 10 protectors, you two block the 2 of them. The rest of you, assist the 2 protectors in destroying these 2. Lai Rong stood proudly and ordered the team around him in an orderly manner. 2 middle-aged men with sharp eyes rushed out from behind Lai Rong and led the Nuwa clan team to charge towards Lin Long and his wife. Lai Rong did not even look at Zhuowen. After all, Zhuowen's aura was too weak. He was only at the mid-stage ancient star transformation realm. He did not have the qualifications to be taken seriously by Lai Rong. Immediately, the 2 protectors of the Nuwa clan led the team and surrounded Lin Long and his wife. The 9 protectors and 10 protectors were late-stage universe tribulation experts. In addition, the Nuwa clan team was besieging them in a special formation. Therefore, Lin Long and his wife were at a disadvantage. What is this kid doing? Isn't he courting death by going over like this? When the 2 groups of people were fighting, the crowd immediately noticed that Zhuowen, who had been quietly standing at the side, suddenly walked towards the battle. Naturally, the crowd could see that Zhuowen was the weakest of the 4. He was only at the mid-stage ancient star transformation realm. Entering the battle with such a cultivation level was suicide. However, they didn't notice that Zhuowen's 10 fingers were lightly dancing in the air as he walked. Numerous powerful formation runes leaped out from his fingertips, as if they were spiritual notes, magical and mysterious. Formation rise. When Zhuowen arrived at the battle where Lin Long and his wife were fighting, his eyes shone brightly. Then, he waved his sleeve, and endless formation runes shot into the sky like a dragon. It was terrifying. It's a formation? Is this guy a divine array master? No. This is a first firmament eternal formation. Lai Rong, who had been indifferent, immediately noticed the terrifying formation runes. He did not pay much attention at first, but after sensing the formation, his body trembled and his face stiffened. The formation was like a cage, trapping the 2 enforcers and all the other cultivators of the Nuwa clan within. Streaks of terrifying killing intent burst out from every corner of the formation and rushed towards the Nuwa clan cultivators inside the formation. Screams rang out continuously. Cultivators below the universe tribulation level could not withstand the killing intent of the formation and were all annihilated. Only the 2 protectors, who were the strongest, could barely withstand the terrifying killing intent of the formation. Strangely, Lin Long and his wife, who were also in the formation, were unharmed. Kill. Lin Long and his wife were invigorated. Knowing that this was a great opportunity, they attacked the 2 protectors fiercely with all their might. In an instant, the 2 protectors were completely at a disadvantage, and their injuries increased. Zhuowen floated outside the formation and moved his fingers. After setting up the killing formation, he set up a trapping formation and a maze formation. No matter how strong the 2 protectors were, it would be difficult for them to leave the range of the formation until they died. Damn it, this guy is an eternal divine array master. I must kill him. Lai Rong gritted his teeth, and a strong killing intent flashed in his eyes. He stopped watching and charged towards Zhuowen with murderous intent. He knew very well that if he did not kill this young man, their team would be wiped out. Brother Zhua, watch out. Duan Jiping had been paying attention to this side. He immediately noticed Lai Rong's attack and shouted to warn Zhuowen. Zhuowen did not seem to hear him. He continued to move his fingers and ignored Lai Rong, who was getting closer and closer. This guy is finished. He's still setting up the formation. He can't even escape. Now, Lai Rong is ranked 72nd on the Outer Realm Heaven list. His strength is comparable to an almighty in the early stage of the Qian Koan tribulation. Everyone secretly shook their heads, thinking that Zhuowen was doomed. Die, you bastard! Lai Rong rushed in front of Zhuan and took out his natal lone star. He held the silver spear in his hand and stabbed towards Zhuan's forehead. However, Lai Rong did not expect the young man in front of him to slowly raise his head and grin at him. Chapter 41:27. When the white light faded, Zhuan and Lai Rong appeared in the formation where Lin Long and his wife were. Don't resist. Leave with me. Zhuan appeared beside Lin Long and his wife and grabbed their hands. He crushed the formation disc that he had prepared earlier, and the three of them were enveloped by the white light again. Damn it, what a cunning fellow. He actually prepared the teleportation formation long ago just to teleport me into it. Lai Rong's expression immediately turned ugly when he appeared in the formation as he muttered. However, when he saw Zhuan carrying Lin Long and his wife away, his expression finally changed. Bastard, don't even think about leaving. Lai Rong gnashed his teeth, rushing explosively towards Zhuan when without the slightest grace. The incomparably massive life-bound lone star shot out violently, rumbling over as if it had teleported. However, the moment Lai Rong released his attack, the formation rippled like water. Terrifying waves of killing intent surged out and blocked all of Lai Rong's attacks. Lai Rong's forward momentum was stopped because of this. At the same time, Zhuan and his wife disappeared from the formation in the white light. Outside the formation, Zhuan, Lin Long, and his wife appeared not too far away. Brother Zhua, did you plan to do this long ago? Lin Long and his wife looked at him with reverence. Zhuan's series of actions earlier had been too smooth. If he had not planned it beforehand, it would have been impossible for him to do it so smoothly. In other words, Zhuan had already thought of how to deal with Lai Rong before Lai Rong had made his move. The two of them were terrified by his temperament and schemes. Zhuan smiled and did not answer. Instead, he looked at Lai Rong in the formation and said, "When I was setting up the formation, I was afraid that you wouldn't come. Fortunately, you didn't disappoint me." Inside the array, Lai Rong was fuming with anger when he heard this. He also realized that he had been tricked. Your formation is not bad, but it's probably not enough to deal with me and my two protectors. You should be aware that we are members of the Nuwa clan, and we aren't people that independent cultivators like you can afford to offend. Now, if you undo the grand formation, this young master will not pursue the matter of your offense from before. Moreover, this young master can even be merciful and allow all of you to enter this blood forest. How about it? Lai Rong's gaze flickered as he suddenly spoke indifferently. He was absolutely confident. After all, the Nuwa clan that stood behind him wasn't an ordinary power, and it was extremely enormous. It wasn't an existence that ordinary cultivators were willing to offend. In his opinion, if Zhuan and the others were smart, they wouldn't really be so heavy-handed. Aren't you a little too confident in yourself? Your suggestion is just bullshit to me. Zhuan shook his head and slowly took out an array flag from his bosom. The array flag was pentagonal, and there were dense and complicated array patterns drawn on it. What are you trying to do? Lai Rong had a bad feeling the moment he saw the array flag. You'll know soon enough. Zhuan was expressionless. Terrifying divine power surged from his palm and poured into the array flag in his hand. Instantly, the array flag was annihilated. Then, cracks began to appear on the surface of the grand formation where Lai Rong was. A terrifying aura of destruction filled the interior of the grand formation. What are you trying to do? Lai Rong and the two guardians' expressions changed completely when they sensed the terrifying aura of destruction. I wonder if the three of you can withstand the self-destruction of a first firmament eternal grade grand formation. Zhuan's lips curled into a smile, but his indifferent voice rang out. Instantly, there was an uproar among the crowd. The Lin Long couple was so shocked that their mouths were agape. You're crazy, Lai Rong, who had always been calm, completely lost his composure. His entire body began to tremble. He knew very well how powerful the self-destruction of a first firmament eternal gray grand formation was. Even an expert at the peak of the great calamity of universe would be severely injured, let alone them. The two of you, let's retreat for a while. Zhuan looked at the Linlong couple with a smile. Okay. The Linlong couple came back to their senses. Their expressions became even more complicated and fearful. They hurriedly retreated with Zhuan, the black-robed old man who was originally fighting with Duan Jiping. Naturally also noticed the grand formation that was about to self-destruct. Little bastard, you're courting death. Hurry up and release the young master and the others. The black-robed old man no longer cared about fighting with Duan Jiping. Instead, he flew toward Zhuan with bloodshot eyes. Humph! Old man, your opponent is me. Why are you running? Duan Jiping snorted coldly. Naturally, he would not let the black-robed old man leave. He entangled him so tightly that it was impossible for him to escape. The grand formation in the sky had reached the limit of collapse. Then, with a loud boom, it began to explode continuously. The entire grand formation collapsed. The energy generated was so terrifying that it seemed as if the entire sky had been pierced through. No! Within the grand formation, the shrill screams of Lai Rong and the two guardians resounded. It sounded exceptionally horrifying. The grand formation's explosion lasted for more than 10 minutes before it finally stopped. 3 wretched figures fell from the sky and landed heavily on the ground. Zhuan brought Lin Long and his wife to where the 3 of them had fallen. The 2 protectors' bodies were on the verge of collapse. They were dripping with blood and on the verge of death. On the other hand, although Lai Rong was seriously injured, his injuries were much lighter than the 2 guardians. It seemed that the moment the grand formation exploded, the 2 guardians should have sacrificed themselves to protect Lai Rong. Otherwise, Lai Rong would have died on the spot. You're so despicable. You actually used the grand formation to self-destruct. That's an unfair victory, Lai Rong said with an ugly expression. However, Zhuan sneered and said, formation techniques are also a type of strength. Speaking of unfair victory, I can't compare to you. After all, you directly outnumbered me. As he said, Zhuan lifted Lai Rong with his right hand and searched Lai Rong's storage divine artifact without any hesitation. At the same time, he even found a token inlaid with golden jade at Lai Rong's waist. On the front of the token, the word battle was engraved. This should be the foreign battlefield's quota token. Zhuan's eyes revealed a glint and accepted this token without any trace of politeness. When Lai Rong saw that Zhuan was so shameless, actually plundering the items on his body, he was shocked and enraged. And the 2 guardians who were on their last breaths glared at Zhuan. If not for them being seriously injured, they might have long exploded and attacked Zhuan. Chapter 4128. Duan Jiping was only half a step away from condensing the cosmic aspect, so he was slightly stronger than the black-robed old man. Therefore, he had basically held the upper hand since the beginning of the battle. Although the black-robed old man was going all out with every move, it was completely useless. Instead, the injuries on his body became more and more serious. Young master. After seeing Lai Rong and the other 2 captured alive by Zhuan, the black-robed old man was furious. He immediately panicked, and Duan Jiping found a flaw and attacked with all his strength. Spurt. The black-robed old man suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood, and his figure flew out in a sorry state. Just you wait. We won't let this go just like that. The black-robed old man roared angrily and fled into the distance at an extremely fast speed. At the same time, what no one noticed was that before the black-robed old man left, he took out a black and gold talisman and quietly crushed it. What an ingenious escape technique. Duan Jiping wanted to give chase, but the black-robed old man was too fast. In the blink of an eye, he became a distant Xiaohei dot. Duan Jiping knew that he couldn't catch up with his speed at all, so he simply gave up. Brother Zhua, you're really awesome. I didn't expect the formation to self-destruct. After Duan Jiping returned to Zhuan's side, he couldn't help but give Zhuan a thumbs up and clicked his tongue in admiration. If he had been at the center of the explosion, even he would have been severely injured. Lin Long and his wife revealed deep respect in their eyes. Brother Duan, I'll leave these three to you. Zhuan looked at Duan Jiping and said. Duan Jiping had an irreconcilable enmity with the Nuwa clan, so Zhuan knew that it was most appropriate to leave Lai Rong and the other two to Duan Jiping. Duan Jiping only glanced indifferently at Lai Rong and the other two and said, "Just kill them. Let me do it." Lai Rong's pupils constricted, and he immediately said loudly, "You can't kill me. If you kill me, you'll become sworn enemies with the Nuwa clan. At that time, you'll be wanted by the Nuwa clan. Will you let bygones be bygones if I let you go? Do you really think I'm a fool? Moreover, we've already become mortal enemies." Duan Jiping's eyes were cold as he pointed the sword finger of his right hand at the space between the 10 protectors' eyebrows. Powerful divine power gushed out and annihilated the 10 protectors' divine souls. Then, he did the same thing and killed the 9 protectors. In the end, his gaze landed on Lai Rong. "You're a genius on the outer realm heavenly ranking, and you're even more famous among the younger generation of the Nuwa clan. If you die, I think the Nuwa clan will probably feel the pain." Duan Jiping smiled coldly, then slowly pointed his sword finger at Lai Rong's forehead. Lai Rong's eyes flashed. His right hand silently reached out. Black gold flashed at the center of his palm. Upon closer inspection, one could see that there was a black gold talisman in his palm. Whoosh! Suddenly, the black gold talisman was crushed, and a strange black gold light enveloped Lai Rong's entire body. After which, Lai Rong swiftly fled into the distance like a gust of wind. All of you remember this. I'll remember this enmity, and I'll definitely repay you double in the future. At the instant that Lai Rong used the talisman to flee, his resentful voice sounded from afar. Bang! Duan Jiping suddenly punched the ground beneath his feet and said, "Just a little bit more." I didn't expect Lai Rong to have a backup plan. Zhuan frowned slightly. Lai Rong's speed was too fast just now, and even he couldn't react in time. However, he found it strange. He'd clearly searched Lai Rong's entire body. So where did he get that black gold talisman from? Let's go. Let's go take a look at the depths of the blood forest. Zhuan said in a low voice. Duan Jiping recovered his calm and nodded. Brother Zhuo is right. Since Lai Rong and the others value the blood forest so much, the things hidden inside should be extraordinary. After Duan Jiping entered the blood forest, the numerous cultivators in the periphery didn't dare approach. Even the Nuwa clan's team had fallen at the hands of Duan Jiping's team. So how could they dare go against this team? There's a powerful sealing formation hidden within the blood forest. However, I've already studied it thoroughly. You only need to follow me. After entering the blood forest, Zhuan reminded Duan Jiping and Lin Long. When he was setting up the formation to deal with Lai Rong, he had already secretly observed the blood forest. He already knew the location and plan of the formation like the back of his hand. As long as they didn't trigger the formation restrictions in the blood forest, their group wouldn't encounter too much of a threat. Moreover, as they went deeper, they also discovered that there were no other powerful exotic beasts in the blood forest. It seemed that the experts of the universe tribulation who were heavily injured by the blood forest were all injured by the formation formed by the terrain of the blood forest. When they reached the depths of the blood forest, they finally heaved a sigh of relief. Duan Jiping and Lin Long looked at Zhuowen's back with excitement. If not for Zhuowen, a God Array master, they would have to barge their way through the blood forest, and the price they had to pay could be said to be enormous. That's Divine Medicine Garden? Suddenly, Lin Long and his wife cried out in surprise. In front of them, there was a huge open space surrounded by blood-colored rocks, and there was a medicinal garden. Inside this medicinal garden, there were many medicinal fields. In each medicinal field, there were divine medicines with oppressive medicinal auras. Let's go. Let's go in and take a look. However, don't act rashly because there are also terrifying restrictive formations inside. Zhuan reminded. Duan Jiping and the other two, who had originally lost their minds because of the medicinal garden, immediately became much more clear-headed after being reminded by Zhuowen. The group of four carefully walked into the medicinal garden. Sure enough, they discovered that the medicinal fields in the medicinal garden were basically surrounded by large formations that were seething with murderous intent. There were even some medicinal fields that had extremely powerful guardian puppets in them. At the same time, they also discovered that several medicinal fields were bare. From the shattered array patterns around them, it could be seen that the restrictions on these medicinal fields were forcefully broken by someone. Obviously, it should be the doing of the universe tribulation experts who had forcefully barged in to seize the divine medicines. The three of you, I only want that medicinal field. The rest of the medicinal fields will be divided equally among you three. How about it? Zhuowen suddenly pointed to the medicinal field in the deepest part of the medicinal garden. In that medicinal field, it was the smallest medicinal field in the medicinal garden. Beside the medicinal field, there was a simple and crude hut. Although this medicinal field was small, the quality of the divine medicines planted in it was extremely high. The worst was a half-step eternal rank divine medicine, and there were many eternal rank 1 divine medicines. Duan Jiping, Lin Long, and his wife looked at each other and agreed to Zhuowen's suggestion. Chapter 41:29. Over the next period of time, Zhuowen found the eye of the formation in every plot of land and told them the corresponding method to get through the formations. He got Duan Jiping and the others to get through the formations in the divine medicinal garden themselves. He went to the deepest part of the herb field. Although the herb field was not big, the array restriction on its surface was the most complicated one in the divine herb garden. If Zhuowen was right, the array restriction on the herb field had reached the peak of the first heaven of the eternal grade. Even if it was Zhuowen, he would still need some time before he could remove the restriction. In the blink of an eye, several days passed. Duan Jiping and Lin Long had found the array core and broken apart of the herb field. They had already gained a lot. On the other hand, Zhuowen was still sitting in front of the deepest part of the herb field like an old monk. The array restriction on the surface of the herb field did not budge and was not broken. This calmness only lasted for 10 days. Zhuowen, who had been motionless, suddenly opened his eyes. Then his 10 fingers were like flames dancing on a flame, constantly dancing in the air. As his 10 fingers danced, numerous complicated and dense runes were born from his fingertips. These array runes were like a monstrous tsunami. They surged out and violently attacked the array in front of them. Boom, boom, boom. The array, which was originally as calm as water, shook violently the moment it came into contact with the array runes. Waves of violent ripples emerged, and strange cracking sounds came from the array runes. Zhuowen's eyes were calm. For the past 10 days, he had been looking for the array core of the array core. Now that he had found it, he was very confident in breaking the array core. Crack! Suddenly, a crisp cracking sound came from the array core. Then, dense cracks appeared on the surface of the array core. In a spurt of energy, Zhuowen increased the output of the formation patterns. In the end, the formation could not hold on any longer and completely collapsed. Duan Jiping and Lin Long also noticed the commotion on Zhuowen's side, but they didn't go forward. After all, they had already allocated the herb field. It was against the rules to enter Zhuowen's herb field without permission. After stepping into the medicinal field, Zhuowen found that the lowest level of divine herbs in this medicinal field was half-step eternal grade, while the highest had reached the peak of rank 1 eternal grade. At a glance, there were more than a dozen eternal rank 1 divine herbs and even more half-step eternal rank divine herbs. Zhuowen's eyes blazed as he stepped into the medicinal field and carefully plucked the divine herbs. Then he took out a jade box that he had prepared in advance from the outside world and placed them inside one by one, carefully preserving them. After Zhuowen collected the divine herbs in the herb field, his gaze fell on the little cottage not far from the herb field. This was the only building in the divine herb garden. Although it was inconspicuous, It was quite strange that it was built in such a precious, divine herb garden. Zhuowen stepped into the cottage. The decoration inside was very simple. There was only a straw mat, a bamboo table, and a bamboo chair. Other than that, there was nothing else. Zhuowen frowned slightly. He began to search the entire cottage. After looking inside and out, he couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. This was the most ordinary thatched hut. Suddenly, Zhuowen noticed an inconspicuous groove on the stone slab next to the straw mat. He gently tapped with his right hand. Suddenly, as if struck by lightning, a strange golden thunderbolt burst out from it and fell into Zhuowen's body. Finally, someone broke into the herb field where I passed away. Boy, you must be a divine array master at the first heaven of eternal grade. Otherwise, it would be impossible for you to break into the core of my herb field. Be obedient and don't resist. After I take over your body, I will naturally make your name resound throughout the world, and you will never be destroyed. The golden thunderbolt followed Zhuowen's meridians and quickly swept towards Zhuowen's divine soul in between his eyebrows. The gloomy voice resounded in Zhuowen's mind. Possession? Zhuowen's pupils shrank. He immediately understood the golden thunderbolt's intention. However, Zhuowen didn't resist. Instead, he revealed a faint mocking smile. How obedient! Since you are so cooperative, I will live in your name in the future. Don't worry, I will definitely let you walk to the peak of the experts. You can go without worry. Seeing that Zhuowen really didn't resist, the golden thunderbolt was overjoyed. It rushed towards the depths of Zhuowen's divine soul at an even faster speed. However, the moment the golden thunderbolt entered the depths of Zhuowen's divine soul, the two primordial stones that were originally located in his divine soul immediately burst out with extremely blazing purple light. Then, they automatically launched a fierce attack against the golden thunderbolt. What is this? This is the primordial stone. No, don't strangle my divine soul. I was wrong. I won't take over your body again. A shrill scream reverberated in the depths of Zhuowen's divine soul. Then, it came to an abrupt end. This powerful divine soul had been refined by the primordial stone and turned into nutrients to nourish Zhuowen's divine soul. Humph! Take over my body? Isn't that courting death? Zhuowen sneered. In the past, he had experienced being taken over many times. However, due to the protection of the primordial stone, the person who took over his body was basically dead. What a surging divine soul power! It seems that the owner of this divine soul should be an expert at the peak of the great calamity of heaven and earth. Zhuowen felt that his divine soul was rapidly becoming stronger. His eyes suddenly revealed a look of pleasant surprise. Originally, after his array Tao level broke through to the first heaven of the eternal grade, his divine soul had undergone a great transformation. It had reached the early stage of the great calamity of heaven and earth. However, this time, under the nourishment of this divine soul power, his divine soul power was skyrocketing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Soon, it broke through to the middle stage of the great calamity of heaven and earth. Moreover, the growth of his divine soul power did not stop at all. It continued to break through until it reached the peak of the great calamity of heaven and earth. Zhuowen was pleasantly surprised. After absorbing the power of this mysterious divine soul, his divine soul had undergone a great transformation. With the help of his powerful divine soul power, his array Tao and alchemy Tao could be further improved in a short period of time. In addition, the power of his divine soul sword essence was probably finally able to threaten the experts of the great calamity of heaven and earth. This could be considered one of his current trump cards. Just as Zhuowen was feeling excited, a surge of information poured into the depths of his mind like a tide. This should be the memory of this divine soul. This guy is actually an array Tao master and alchemy master at the first heaven of the eternal grade. When he checked this memory, Zhuowen was pleasantly surprised. The divine soul's owner's alchemy Tao and array Dao level were extremely high. They were both above him. Chapter 4130. From Bai Tiangong's Memories, Zhuowen also understood quite a bit about the cosmic Dharma powerhouse. This cosmic Dharma powerhouse was called Lu Yinhua. He was an extremely powerful independent cultivator and was rather famous in the 100 domains. It was said that Lu Yinhua had died because he had been severely injured by the combined forces of several experts from higher domains while fighting for information on a historical site. He had fled to the Witch domain to hide. As Lu Yinhua's injuries were too severe, he had died here in the end. His grave was sealed in his Qinkuan world, while his Qinkuan world was hidden in the most dangerous Snow Flame Valley in the Witch domain. As an absolute cosmic Dharma powerhouse, Lu Yinhua naturally had many followers. Bai Tiangong was one of his many followers and also one of Lu Yinhua's most valued subordinates. He had always looked after the divine medicinal garden for Lu Yinhua. As Lu Yinhua was heavily injured, his cosmic Dharma and Qinkuan world both collapsed. The followers he had placed in the Qinkuan world were unable to withstand the terrifying power, and most of them died on the spot. Bai Tiangong's luck was pretty good. His physical body had been destroyed in that battle. Fortunately, his soul was relatively strong, so he had managed to survive. Moreover, he had been hiding in the divine medicinal garden all this time, waiting for someone to enter the divine medicinal garden while he waited for an opportunity to possess the body. Unfortunately, Bai Tiangong had encountered Zhuowen. Possessing Zhuowen was undoubtedly courting death. With Bai Tiangong's memories, I know Lu Yinhua's grave like the back of my hand. Zhuowen's eyes shone brightly. He could not help but grin excitedly. Bai Tiangong was one of Lu Yinhua's most valued subordinates. He was far more familiar with Lu Yinhua's Qinkuan world than they were. Zhuowen had obtained Bai Tiangong's memories. Not only had he inherited Bai Tiangong's understanding of formations and pills, but he had also basically grasped this damaged Qinkuan world completely. Bai Tiangong really hid his strength well. He actually hid the yin-yang calamity pool in here. Zhuowen's eyes shone brightly. He arrived under the straw mat and swept it away with a wave of his sleeve. Under the straw mat, there was a bronze doorboard. On the surface of the doorboard, there were all kinds of complicated patterns, looking very mysterious. This bronze door was called the Heaven Deceiving Lock. It was a mechanism that Bai Tiangong had created himself. It could deceive the consciousness of a universe's Dharma adepts. It was an incredible mechanism. This was also the reason why Zhuowen couldn't find anything else under the straw mat, even after searching for so long. Zhuowen unlocked the Heaven Concealing Lock according to Bai Tiangong's memory. The bronze door opened to both sides, revealing a deep passageway. After Zhuowen entered the tunnel, he walked for about 15 minutes before reaching the bottom. At the end of the tunnel, there was a secret room made of bronze. In the center of the secret room, there was a black and white pool that was 10 feet wide. Strands of extremely terrifying tribulation energy surged within the pool. The water was like a whirlpool that constantly revolved and emitted a clamorous noise that sounded like rushing thunder. This must be the yin-yang calamity pool. Zhuowen's eyes were blazing. The yin-yang calamity pool was extremely valuable. Even the adepts of the great calamity of Qiankuan would be extremely jealous of it. This was because the yin-yang calamity pool could not only accelerate the cultivation of the ancient star transformation experts, but after absorbing the energy of the yin-yang calamity pool, it would effectively increase the resistance of the body to the great calamity of Qiankuan in the future. In addition, the adepts of the great calamity of Qiankuan could also use the yin-yang calamity pool to increase the power of the great calamity of Qiankuan in their Qiankuan world. To the adepts of the ancient star transformation and the great calamity of Qiankuan, this was a rare treasure. Zhuowen's current cultivation was at the middle stage of the ancient star transformation. If he used the yin-yang calamity pool, he would be able to make another breakthrough in a short period of time. Let's move the yin-yang calamity pool to the outside world. Zhuowen summoned Xiao He and asked Xiao He to cut out the entire bronze chamber and move it into the outside world. Xiaohei's current strength was not inferior to his at all. In fact, she was even stronger. Therefore, although the bronze chamber was sturdy, it was a piece of cake for Xiaohei. After putting away the Yin-Yang calamity pool, Zhuowen walked out of the small thatch cottage. He found that Duan Jiping and the other two were still working hard to break the restrictions on the remaining medicinal fields. He knew that it would take some time for Duan Jiping and the other two to divide up all the medicinal fields here. Zhuowen did not disturb the three of them. Instead, he silently entered the outside world. He could use this time to enter the Yin-Yang calamity pool to cultivate, hoping to make another breakthrough. Boom! Boom! When Zhuowen entered the outside world, he immediately discovered that there was an extremely powerful energy fluctuation not far from the center of the outside world. Zhuowen's gaze fell on the island in the center. He saw two figures fighting fiercely on the lake around the island. What made Zhuowen feel even more strange was that the two figures fighting were a purple-black gold divine sword and a 1-year-old infant. Especially the 1-year-old infant. His entire body was chubby, and on the surface of his crystal-clear skin, mysterious and powerful characters lit up. He gently waved his little fist, and the entire lake surged with waves that were tens of thousands of feet high. The purplish-black gold divine sword slashed out horizontally, slicing the terrifying wave in half. Then, the divine sword swept through the air, and a beam of sword energy shot out like lightning, fiercely standing between the baby's eyebrows. "Watch out!" Zhuowen's expression changed drastically. He immediately rushed over, but the sword chi was too fast. It had already landed between the infant's eyebrows. Bang! The infant was like a ball that had been kicked. He flew out and landed on the island. After rolling a dozen times on the ground, he barely managed to stop himself. Zhuowen landed beside the infant and picked him up. Only then did he discover that apart from a small red mark between the infant's eyebrows, he was completely unscathed. However, at this moment, the infant pouted his little mouth, and his large eyes were red. He actually began to bawl loudly. "So painful. Uncle Black, you're so mean. You hurt me." The infant's arms and legs flailed about, and his cries became louder and louder. Whoosh! The purple-black gold divine sword flew over and hovered near the infant. Xiaohei appeared on the hilt of the sword. He rubbed his little paws and said with a guilty conscience, "Patian, Uncle, I didn't hold back and forgot to control my strength. I apologize to you. Don't cry." As he spoke, Xiaohei couldn't help but look at Zhuowen. His ears drooped, and he giggled foolishly. "All right, don't cry. You're not injured, are you?" Zhuowen shook his head in exasperation. Zhuowen had initially thought that the infant would cry even louder. After all, his consolation skills were very poor. However, to his surprise, the infant stopped crying. Instead, he pounced into Zhuowen's arms and said with a wide grin, my master has finally come to see me. This little guy is very smart. He learned how to speak in just a few days. He's been talking about you all this time. Furthermore, his physical body is extremely powerful. Even though I control my strength, it was still very powerful. He was still able to withstand it. This little guy has a bright future ahead of him. Xiaohei transmitted his voice to Zhuowen. Chapter 41:31. Patian blinked his big eyes and said crisply, "My master is my master. Anyway, since I was born, there was a voice in my head telling me that you are my master." Zhuowen didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but he also knew that because Patian was born from his world, he had recognized him as his master. Next, Zhuowen asked Patian about his own origin, such as what the mysterious characters on his body were, and why he was born from stone. However, to Zhuowen's disappointment, Patian was also ignorant. He only knew that the mysterious characters on his body seemed to be a set of cultivation methods. At present, he couldn't completely understand the meaning of the mysterious characters and could only understand one or two characters. It was just words. However, Patian also said that it seemed that as he grew older, he would naturally recognize more words. Zhuowen knew that the secrets on Sure Potion's body might only be revealed after he grew up. Moreover, Zhuowen actually hoped that more intelligent creatures like Sure Potion could be born in his macro world. This was because he could feel that the reproduction of intelligent creatures would give birth to civilization, and the development of civilization might cause earth-shaking changes in his macro world. As for what kind of changes would occur, perhaps the future would tell. After comforting Sure Potion, Zhuowen went to the place where the Inyang Calamity Pond was located. Sure Potion was well-behaved. He knew that Zhuowen had important things to do, so he didn't pester Zhuowen. I hope this Inyang Calamity Pond can bring me a different surprise. Zhuowen stood in the bronze secret chamber, silently staring at the black and white pool in front of him. He took off his clothes and jumped into the pool. Crackle. The moment Zhuowen was immersed in the pool, the whole pool resounded with firecracker-like muffled sounds. Waves of strange energy, like maggots, flowed into the depths of Zhuowen's body through the acupoints on his body. Zhuowen groaned. He felt extreme pain the moment the energy of the Inyang Universe Calamity Pool surged into his body. It was as if he was being gnawed on by tens of thousands of ants. It was indescribable. However, the benefits were also very obvious. While he was in extreme pain, Zhuowen could clearly feel that the energy in the pool was constantly nourishing his body, meridians, and limbs. His cultivation, under the nourishment of the pool's energy, began to skyrocket at a speed visible to the naked eye. Time passed day by day, and Zhuowen's aura, who was immersed in the pool, was also strengthening day by day. Finally, on the 5th day, Zhuowen's aura reached its peak. Then a thunderous explosion resounded in his body, and his aura reached a whole new level. The effect of the Inyang Calamity Pond is really amazing. It's only been 5 days, and I've successfully broken through to the late ancient star transformation stage. Zhuowen's eyes were filled with surprise. As he cultivated the primordial technique, although he had obtained strength that was far greater than his peers, the difficulty of cultivating it was also far greater than that of ordinary cultivators. With the help of the Inyang Calamity Pond, he had only used 5 days to break through to the next stage. This showed how powerful the pool's effect was. The energy in the pool is still quite sufficient. It should be able to help me cultivate to the peak of the ancient star transformation stage. Zhuowen found that although the energy in the pool was slightly thinner than before, it was still very sufficient. He planned to continue cultivating, hoping to break through again. Time gradually passed, and Zhuowen's speed of absorbing the pool's energy became faster and faster. The movements of his cultivation also became bigger and bigger. Following that, the energy in the Inyang Calamity Pond became thinner and thinner. The black and white pool water began to faintly turn transparent. This kind of cultivation continued for half a month. Finally, the energy in the pool water was completely absorbed by Zhuowen. Zhuowen slowly opened his eyes and looked at the pool water that had already become transparent. The corners of his mouth revealed a trace of a bitter smile. The energy in the Inyang Calamity Pond was finally absorbed by me, but I haven't been able to successfully break through to the peak of the ancient star transformation stage. Zhuowen shook his head helplessly, but he was not discouraged. This was because he could feel that he was not far from the peak of the ancient star transformation stage. If he could still absorb enough energy, he would be able to smoothly break through immediately. Moreover, his strength had increased by a large margin since he had just broken through to the late ancient star transformation stage. With his current strength, it would be no problem for him to fight against an expert in the middle or late stages of the Inyang Calamity Pond with his bare hands. If he used his trump card, his strength would be even stronger. Even those at the peak of the Inyang Calamity Pond might not be his match. After Zhuowen left the bronze secret chamber, he found that in the center of the island, not far away, Xiaohe was teaching Sure Potion how to cultivate with her legs crossed. Although Sure Potion was young, he was extremely serious when cultivating. His posture was methodical, and he looked somewhat cute. Xiaohei noticed that Zhuowen had come out of seclusion. Just as she was about to greet him, she was stopped by Zhuowen, who shook his head. Zhuowen watched in silence for a while, then left the great world. At the same time, Duan Jiping and Lin Long had finally finished distributing the medicinal fields in the Divine Herb Garden. Brother Zhua, thank you so much this time. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't have such a great harvest. As soon as Duan Jiping and the other two came in front of Zhuowen, they surrounded Zhuowen with great enthusiasm. In particular, Duan Jiping was so excited that she held Zhuowen's hand and couldn't help herself. Lin Long and his wife were also grinning excitedly. They looked at Zhuowen with eyes full of gratitude. These 6 eternal-level divine herbs were put together by the 3 of us and planned to give to you. After all, your medicinal field is too small and the number of divine herbs is too small. Instead, we divided such a large medicinal field equally. Duan Jiping handed over 6 divine herbs to Zhuowen with a trace of embarrassment in her eyes. Obviously, they still felt a little guilty about dividing up most of the medicinal field. Zhuowen was slightly stunned as he gazed at the 6 divine herbs before him. After that, he smiled as he accepted them and said, "This is my choice. Moreover, the field I chose contains the inheritance of the master of the divine medicinal garden. Speaking of which, it's beneficial to me. Speaking of which, it's more valuable than divine herbs. Brother Zhua, you're also an alchemist?" Duan Jiping looked at Zhuowen in surprise. "My alchemy skills are not as good as my array skills. I'm only at heaven-breaking level 9. I'm ashamed." Zhuowen scratched his head and said embarrassedly. Duan Jiping and Lin Long looked at each other, speechless. This was really infuriating. Zhuowen's identity as a divine array master at first firmament eternal level was enough to stun them. Now this guy was also a heaven-breaking level 9 alchemist. This was simply a monster. Chapter 41-32. You should have already searched this area. Now, let's go find that expert's grave. Zhuowen said with a smile. Brother Zhua, do you know where the grave is? Duan Jiping asked doubtfully. Zhuowen said with a smile. After receiving the inheritance of the Divine Herb Garden's owner, I also obtained the map of this place. So, I know the exact location of the grave. Duan Jiping and Lin Long were pleasantly surprised. Originally, when they entered the universe world, they were like blind men searching for an elephant. They had no idea where the real grave was. Now, Zhuowen had found the specific route map. To them, it was simply a pleasant surprise. After packing up for a while, they left the Blood Forest. At the periphery of the Blood Forest, many cultivators who had gathered there had already dispersed. Obviously, after knowing that they couldn't get the divine herbs in the Blood Forest, they gave up and went to explore other places in this world. After Zhuowen and the others left the Blood Forest, they headed north. And by Tiangong's memory, Zhuowen knew that Lu Yinhua's grave was hidden in a place called the Purple Flame Divine Mountain. Moreover, the Purple Flame Divine Mountain was surrounded by all kinds of extremely powerful restrictions, which were basically peak first heaven eternal great arrays. Ordinary experts of the universe tribulation would find it difficult to enter. Bai Tiangong had participated in the arrangement of the Purple Flame Divine Mountain's array, so he knew the shortcut to enter the Purple Flame Divine Mountain without destroying the array. 2 days later, Zhuowen and the others finally arrived at the mountain range where the Purple Flame Divine Mountain was located. This was a vast mountain range that stretched endlessly. In the center of the mountain range, a divine mountain burning with purple divine flames stood quietly in the mountain range. This was the Purple Flame Divine Mountain. The Purple Flame Divine Mountain burned with purple flames that seemed to never be extinguished. The scorching heat hit their faces. Even though Zhuowen and the others were tens of thousands of feet away, they could clearly feel the terrifying heat, which made them feel anxious and uncomfortable. Brother Zhua, look, there seems to be a lot of people gathered outside the Purple Flame Divine Mountain. Duan Jiping suddenly pointed to the front and said in an unnatural voice. Zhuowen looked over. Indeed, there were many groups gathered outside the Purple Flame Divine Mountain. However, those teams were all stationed outside the Purple Flame Sacred Mountain. None of them attempted to enter the Purple Flame Sacred Mountain. It seems that the exact location of this tomb isn't a secret after all. Lin Long and his wife smiled bitterly. Zhuan didn't say anything. Instead, he led the three of them to the periphery of the Purple Flame Divine Mountain. The group of cultivators gathered at the periphery of the Purple Flame Divine Mountain was clearly divided into three camps. One of the camps was led by the green-robed old man and was formed by the experts of the older generation who had undergone the great calamity of universe. The second group was led by Mo Fengyu and Mo Liuhua of the Sorcerer God clan. There were also many powerful rogue cultivators gathered in Mo Fengyu's group. The third group surprised Zhuan. It was the group led by Su Zhou and Ziyu. This group was basically made up of the geniuses on the Outer Realm celestial ranking that had entered this place. The rest were mostly unimportant rogue cultivators who didn't belong to any camp. Of course, these rogue cultivators were also quite self-aware. They didn't intend to compete with the three camps for the truly good things in the tomb. They only wanted to follow behind them and pick up the scraps. When Zhuan's group arrived, Zhuan immediately felt a gaze full of malice. He turned his head and saw Lai Rong and the black-robed old man behind Su Zhou and Ziyu's group, staring at him with hatred. Then, Lai Rong came to Su Zhou and Ziyu's side and whispered something. The two of them glanced at Zhuan and then slowly descended in front of Zhuan with Lai Rong. Ziyu's purple hair fluttered in the wind. Her mysterious purple eyes were filled with domineering and indisputable light. Brother, my name is Ziyu. I'm ranked 5th on the Outer Realm Celestial Rankings. I'm from the Xiling region. I think you and Brother Lai Rong have some misunderstanding. How about this? I'll give you a chance to join our camp. You have to apologize to Brother Lai Rong and return all his things. How about it? Ziyu faintly looked at Zhuan. There was a trace of arrogance in her expression. Kid, hand over my things, and obediently kneeled down and apologized to me. Otherwise, you won't have a good ending. Lai Rong's eyes were full of arrogance as he spoke coldly. Zhuan looked indifferently at Lai Rong and then at Ziyu. He said playfully, I want to ask, who do you think you are? You dare to ask me to hand over my things and apologize to this trash? Is the Outer Realm Celestial Rankings that great? Ziyu's expression immediately turned cold. The youth in front of her didn't have much cultivation, but his personality was very arrogant. This made her extremely unhappy. Just as Ziyu was about to speak, Lai Rong, who was standing beside her, couldn't help it. He said in exasperation, Trash? You have a right to call me trash? If you didn't trick me and use the array to self-destruct to seriously injure me, do you think you would be my opponent with your little cultivation? If we fought face-to-face, I could destroy you in one move. Zhuan looked at Lai Rong with a faint smile. Seeing that you're so confident, I'll give you a chance to challenge me. I won't use array techniques. If you can take one move from me, then I can even give you my life. Duan Jiping and Lin Long were shocked. They hurriedly signaled Zhuan with their eyes. They knew that Zhuan wasn't weak, but that was with his array techniques. Now, Zhuan actually didn't use array techniques to fight Lai Rong one-on-one. Wasn't this using one's weakness to attack the other's strength? After all, Lai Rong was a genius ranked 72nd on the Outer Realm Celestial Rankings. His strength was much stronger than Guxing's peak cultivators. How could Zhuan defeat the former in one move? Ziyu also looked at Zhuan strangely. She secretly shook her head. She felt that Zhuan was too arrogant. Good. You said it yourself. Take one move from you. Haha. I think I should be the one to destroy you. Lai Rong was so angry that he laughed. Brother Duan, get out of the way first. It's only a matter of one move to deal with him. It'll be quick. Zhuan looked at the worried Duan Jiping and the other two. Duan Jiping and the other two sighed. They also knew that it was useless to persuade them now. They could only obediently step aside. Ziyu was also quite self-aware. She also stepped back to give Zhuowen and Lai Rong some space to fight. Zhuowen and Lai Rong's movements also attracted the attention of the other two camps. That's Lai Rong of the Niwa clan. It looks like he wants to fight one-on-one. Who's the other youth? Mo Fengyo's gaze fell on Zhuowen. He was rather surprised. Mo Liuhua shook his head. Lu Yingying, who was standing beside him, had a strange look in her eyes. She had seen Zhuowen before and naturally recognized Zhuowen at a glance. Chapter 41:33. Lu Yingying said scornfully, "I know this person. He is the young man who escorted my niece's group. I remember his name is Zhuowen." "Oh, is he the arrogant brat who claimed to have defeated the guardian of the Goldwater domain, Psycho Hongfei?" Mo Liu was suddenly asked. He originally did not care about Zhuowen at all. The reason why he had some impression of Zhuowen was that Lu Yingying had mentioned to him that Zhuowen claimed to have defeated Psycho Hongfei, an expert of the great calamity of Qiankuan. At that time, Zhuowen's cultivation was still very low. He was only in the middle stage of the ancient star transformation. Lai Rong is a genius on the Outer Realm heavenly list. He is extremely powerful and has killed an expert of the half-step Great Carefree Realm. He even chased after an expert of the early stage of the Great Calamity of Qiankuan. However, he failed in the end and escaped. Does this brat really think that he can look down on a genius like Lai Rong just because his cultivation has reached the late stage of the ancient star transformation? How stupid. Mo Liuhua shook his head as a mocking smile appeared on his face. He is just an arrogant brat. Husband, why do you care? Lu Yingying said with a smile. Lu Yingying originally had a glimmer of hope for Zhuowen. However, she was extremely disappointed by Zhuowen's performance. It seemed that not allowing Zhuowen to follow Shan Lingyun into the Sorcerer God City was indeed the right choice. You are Zhuowen, right? Soon, you will pay the price for your arrogance. If you don't use the Array Dao, you are just a piece of trash. What do you have to compete with me? Lai Rong's eyes revealed a ferocious look as he summoned his natal lone star. His natal lone star was many times larger than an ordinary ancient star transformation cultivator. It emitted a white glow. Upon closer inspection, the surface of a natal lone star was shrouded in endless ice and snow. The moment Lai Rong summoned his natal lone star, Zhuowen could clearly feel that the surrounding temperature was rapidly dropping as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. Lai Rong's face was expressionless. He formed a seal with both hands and blasted out into the void. The white natal star suspended in the void behind him cut through the void and blasted fiercely toward Zhuowen. At the same time, Lai Rong took out his life-bound god artifact, a divine spear engraved with icy blue dragons. He strode through the air and followed closely behind his life-bound star, launching a terrifying attack at Zhuowen like a thunderbolt. Brother Zhuo, be careful. This Lai Rong's strength is not simple. He is much stronger than ordinary ancient star peak cultivators. Duan Jiping and Lin Long hurriedly reminded Zhuowen. If it wasn't for Zhuowen glaring at the three of them, they might have already rushed up to block Lai Rong's terrifying attack for Zhuowen. Zhuowen silently hovered in midair. His body moved without any wind, and his shoulder-length black hair fluttered in the wind. In the blink of an eye, Lai Rong stepped on his life star and arrived near Zhuowen. His aura was like a rainbow, and his killing intent was like a dragon. Heavenly Ice God's net. Lai Rong raised his divine spear and swung it down fiercely. Terrifying divine power gathered at the tip of the divine spear like a tide. Then, it smashed fiercely toward Zhuowen's head. The icy blue natal lone star was charging straight at Zhuowen from the front with an unparalleled momentum, as if it was going to crush Zhuowen's entire body into powder. Zhuowen slowly raised his head. He grinned at Lai Rong and said softly, "Only have this little trick? You're really too weak." Zhuowen's voice was not loud, but it spread across the sky like thunder. Almost everyone present heard it clearly. Under everyone's shocked gazes, Zhuowen slowly took a step forward. Then, A terrifying aura quickly rushed out of Zhuan's body and rushed into the sky. Boom, boom, boom. Then the earth cracked, and huge stars quickly floated out from the depths of the earth. There were hundreds of stars, revolving around Zhuan in an irregular trajectory. And Lai Rong's life star, just as it arrived not far from Zhuan, it was immediately blocked by several stars and bounced away. And the moment this life star bounced away, even more stars shot out like hidden weapons and smashed on Lai Rong's life star, smashing it and sending it flying in all directions. At the same time, even more stars brutally blasted towards Lai Rong. Lai Rong was caught off guard and was hit by several stars. He grunted and retreated repeatedly, his face becoming rather pale. How can you have so many life stars? Lai Rong was completely shocked. He had never seen a cultivator with such a terrifying amount of life-bound lone stars. Even that freak who was ranked first on the Outer Realm Heavenly list didn't have as many life-bound lone stars as Zhuo when he entered the Ancient Star transformation. I haven't even made a move, and you're already in such a sorry state. Looks like I overestimated you. You're even more useless than I thought. Zhuo shook his head, his interest waning. He raised his right hand into the air and then slowly lowered it. At this moment, the surrounding stars seemed to have stopped in time, all of them coming to a standstill. Of course, this kind of standstill was only for an instant. Then, the stars rushed out one after another, smashing towards Lai Rong, who was not far away. No, Lai Rong looked at the stars that filled the sky rushing towards him. His face completely turned ghastly pale, and the depths of his eyes were filled with deep fear. Boom, boom, boom. Earth-shaking collisions continuously resounded in the sky. Lai Rong's body was truly too small compared to the numerous stars. Even Lai Rong's life star had already been torn apart by the terrifying collisions of the numerous stars, and Lai Rong's figure was completely drowned out, unable to be seen at all. Young master, the expression of the black-robed old man from the Nuwa clan completely changed. He charged into the core surrounded by countless stars without any regard for his own safety. The black-robed old man was worthy of being a supreme expert of a universe calamity. Although he had been injured by Duan Jipeng earlier, his strength was still not to be underestimated. Zhuan's life star could not stop him at all, and it was blasted away one by one. When the black-robed old man blasted away the surrounding stars, he finally saw Lai Rong, who was trapped in the core. At this moment, Lai Rong's entire body was dripping with blood. His body was on the verge of collapse, and his aura was almost non-existent. He was on the verge of death. Zhuo waved his sleeve, and the hundreds of stars returned to his body. They rapidly rotated in irregular trajectories, making him look like a god that had descended to the mortal world. The periphery of the purple flame divine mountain was completely silent. Lai Rong, who was ranked 72nd on the Outer World Heaven ranking, was an extremely famous genius among the younger generation of the entire 100 domains. Now, Lai Rong was fighting a young man whose cultivation was even lower than his. Not only did he not win, he was even beaten to the brink of death by a single move. This was too terrifying. Chapter 41-34. Lai Rong was actually defeated in one move. This person has some strength. Ziyu's purple eyes stared intently at Zhuo. She muttered to herself in her heart. Interesting. This youth's cultivation is not high, but his strength is so strong. His background is probably not small. Suzhou slowly landed beside Ziyu. Because he was wearing a silver mask, it was impossible to see his expression. However, his tone was a bit more approving. He's too arrogant. Although his strength is not bad, there is still a gap between him and the geniuses in the top 10 of the Outer Realm leaderboard. Even I can't stand his level of arrogance. Ziyu said coldly. Suzhou did not answer Ziyu's question. Instead, he smiled faintly. If possible, we can pull this person into our camp. He defeated our camp's Lai Rong. If we pull him in, I'm afraid it's not appropriate. Ziyu frowned. Our team doesn't need losers. Since Lai Rong failed, then he has no value. Our team doesn't need trash like him, Su Zhou said indifferently. Ziyu's heart trembled, but she did not refute. She understood the personality of this old opponent in front of her quite well. In the Wushan clan's team, Lu Yingying covered her cherry lips with her hand. Her beautiful eyes looked at this scene in disbelief. In her opinion, Lai Rong, a genius on the Outer Realm leaderboard, should be able to easily defeat Zhuowen in a battle with Zhuowen. But now, unexpectedly, the one who was taken care of was Lai Rong. Moreover, he was taken care of in one move. This was a little too scary, wasn't it? Soon, Lu Yingying remembered that Shan Lingyun had mentioned to her that Zhuowen had defeated Psycho Hongfei. She did not care about it at all, and only thought that Shan Lingyun had been deceived by Zhuowen. But now, after seeing Zhuowen's strength, she was somewhat moved by Shan Lingyun's words. Could it be that Zhuowen had really defeated a great tribulation expert, like Psycho Hongfei? He actually won? Mo Liuhua frowned slightly and muttered to himself in surprise. This child is not simple. His life lone star is too strange. He actually has so many life lone stars. Within the same level, I'm afraid there are few who are his opponents. Mo Fengyu said rather solemnly. Then, Mo Fengyu's sharp gaze fell on Lu Yingying. He said lightly, Yingying, I heard that this child is your niece's friend. If he has such strength, we could try to win him over. Lu Yingying was stunned. She originally wanted to refuse. After all, she had mocked Zhuowen Fengyu. However, after sensing Mo Fengyu's unquestionable gaze, her expression changed. She had no choice but to nod and agree. Little bastard, you're so ruthless. You actually crippled the young master. The black-robed old man roared furiously. He leaped out and transformed into a sharp ray of light that shot toward Zhuowen. A terrifying aura surged out, causing the surrounding space to distort in large areas. Everyone's expression changed when they sensed the terrifying aura from the black-robed elder. A peak great tribulation expert. I didn't expect the Niwa clan to value Lai Rong so much. They actually sent such an expert to protect Lai Rong. That young man is in trouble. The crowd was in an uproar as their gazes fell upon Zhuowen. Their eyes were filled with pity. You must accept your loss. Old man, don't go too far. At the same time, Duan Jiping, who had been watching the battle, saw the black-robed elder make a move. He snorted coldly and stood in front of Zhuowen. The black-robed elder and Duan Jiping fiercely collided. Two enormous universe world phantoms floated in the sky, and endless tribulation energy wreaked havoc and exploded. Everything within tens of thousands of miles fell into a terrifying state of collapse. The ground in this area had turned into an abyss, and the thick clouds in the sky had dispersed. Then, everyone was shocked to discover that the black-robed elder, who had an imposing aura, had been forced back in a rather sorry state. Duan Jiping, on the other hand, had only taken a few steps back. His back was straight as he floated in the air. His sharp gaze was cold as he stared at the black-robed elder, who was in a rather sorry state. At this moment, everyone was shocked. The attack of the black-robed old man at the peak of the great calamity of heaven and earth had been blocked. Another peak great tribulation expert. Where did this young man come from? He actually has such an expert as a teammate. After sensing Duan Jiping's terrifying aura, everyone's expressions became extremely solemn. Zhuowen had almost killed Lai Rong with a single move, and Duan Jiping had repelled the black-robed elder with a single move. There were also the Lin Long couple with strong auras. Although Zhuowen's team did not have the advantage in numbers, their strength could not be underestimated. What? Do you still want to come? You're just a defeated opponent. Duan Jiping stared at the black-robed elder. A trace of deep killing intent flashed in the depths of his eyes. He had a life-and-death feud with the Niwa clan. He had long wanted to kill this group of Niwa clan bastards. However, there were too many people here. He obviously could not completely use his full strength to deal with any future troubles. The black-robed elder also felt the killing intent in Duan Jiping's eyes. His heart trembled. Although he felt that it was strange, he fell into a rare silence and did not dare to clamor anymore. The two of you, let's talk things over. It's not worth it to fight before we even enter the tomb. The two of you should give me, Ziyu, face and temporarily put aside your grudges. After we enter the tomb together, no one will care how you fight. Ziyu walked forward with a smile. She was smiling insincerely and acted as a peacemaker. Nephew Ziyu is right. The two of you should calm down. Now is the time for us to work together to break this purple flame divine mountain. All the fighting now is meaningless. At the same time, the Wushan clan's camp and the green-robed elders' camp came forward and tried to persuade them. When Duan Jiping saw that the people from the three camps had come, he restrained the killing intent in his eyes. He said lightly, "The Niwa clan is really shameless. You want to bully the weak. If there's a next time, I won't be merciful just because you're from the Niwa clan." The black-robed elder was full of anger. He looked at Duan Jiping and Zhuan with resentment, but did not say anything. Instead, he brought the seriously injured Lai Rong to a corner not far away and began to take out magical pills to treat Lai Rong's injuries. Chapter 41:35. So, it's Brother Zhua, little Brother Zhua. I'm Su Zhou. I'm very interested in you. I hope you can join our camp. Just as Ziyu was feeling awkward, the silver-masked Su Zhou slowly walked over and spoke in a gentle voice. Ziyu was quite tactful and retreated behind Su Zhou. Zhuan looked indifferently at Su Zhou. Just as he was about to speak, the people from the other two camps also came over. Little Brother Zhua, your team is also made up of individual cultivators. It's right for you to join our camp. After all, whether it's Su Zhou or the Wushan clan's team, they aren't very friendly to individual cultivators. As individual cultivators, we should support each other. The green-robed elder's lips moved slightly as he invited them rather enthusiastically. Brother Gu, you're wrong. This little brother has a deep relationship with our Wushan clan. He might not be fated with you. Mo Fengyu smiled faintly, his face full of confidence. Under Mo Yohua's meaningful glance, Lu Yingying braced herself and walked over. She forced a smile at Zhuan and said, "Zhuan, you should still remember me, right? I'm Ling Yun's aunt, Lu Yingying." Zhuan glanced at Lu Yingying indifferently and said indifferently, "Senior Lu must be joking. We've only just met, so this Zhuan naturally remembers Senior." Seeing that Zhuan didn't ignore her, Lu Yingying heaved a sigh of relief. She said rather enthusiastically, "Zhuan, I know that you're Ling Yun's disciple. Speaking of which, you and I have a deep relationship. You and your team's strength is indeed not bad. Our Wushan clan's team isn't weak either. I want to invite you to join our team. You won't refuse on account of Ling Yun, right?" The green-robed elder and Su Zhou frowned slightly. They didn't expect that Zhuan had such a relationship with Lu Yingying of the Wushan clan. Didn't that mean that they had no chance at all? Although Mo Fengyu and Mo Liuhua didn't say anything, they couldn't help but reveal a smug expression. In their opinion, Zhuan would definitely agree to let Lu Yingying join their team. But Zhuan shook his head and said, "Senior Lu, I'm really sorry. Our small team is enough. We don't wish to join any team. Thank you for your kindness." Lu Yingying's expression changed slightly, while Mo Fengyu and Mo Liuhua frowned. Their expressions became unsightly. "Little brother Zhu, don't tell me you don't care about our old friendship? After all, Shan Ling Yun and the others are still in our shaman god city." Mo Liuhua grunted coldly. Zhuan narrowed his eyes as a dangerous glint flashed across his eyes. "Clan leader Mo, are you threatening me?" Mo Liuhua smiled faintly and said, "I'm not threatening you. It's just that Shan Ling Yun and the rest are living under someone else's roof after all. This kind of feeling is sometimes involuntary." Lu Yingying's expression changed slightly. She didn't expect Mo Liuhua to use Shanling Yun as an excuse. However, she didn't dare to have any objections. Chapter 41:36. After the Wushan clan team attacked, the green-robed elder, Su Zhou, and Ziyu's teams were not willing to fall behind. They all launched their own attacks. All kinds of dazzling light spilled out in all directions. The purple flame Divine Mountain exploded with dazzling light. It was very dazzling and eye-piercing. The moment the three teams attacked, many independent cultivators who did not belong to the three teams were also encouraged to attack. They all joined in the attack on the formation core. Immediately, with the purple flame Divine Mountain as the center, the entire ground shook violently. Extremely ear-piercing and terrifying explosions erupted. On the summit of the purple flame Divine Mountain, there was an explosion of multicolored energy. The purple pearl hanging high on the summit trembled slightly and then exploded with extremely terrifying energy. The purple flames that seemed like they would never be extinguished all over the Divine Mountain were all mobilized at this moment. They suddenly rose and condensed on the summit. They began to recklessly collide with all kinds of terrifying energy coming from the outside. What shocked everyone was that the combined attack of so many cultivators was actually blocked by the blazing purple flames. Everyone, I've said it before, don't hold back. If you hold back now, we won't even be able to break into the purple flame Divine Mountain. Then what's the point of holding back your strength? It won't be of any use at all. Mo Fengyu roared in exasperation. He took the lead and summoned his Qingquan world, erupting with even more terrifying power. Encouraged by Mo Feiyu, Ziyu, Su Zhou, and the green-robed elder no longer held back. They all used their full strength. Boom! Boom! Even more terrifying attacks came one after another. They were like waves, each wave higher than the last. What made everyone excited was that the purple flames on the Divine Mountain were faintly suppressed by them. They also believed that with the passage of time, they would eventually break through the formation core of the Divine Mountain and then charge into the Divine Mountain. However, what no one noticed was that there were 4 people who quietly withdrew from the besieging team and quietly circled to the back of the purple flame Divine Mountain. These 4 people were Zhuoan, Duan Jiping, and the other 2. Brother Zhua, is this shortcut of yours reliable? Duan Jiping asked worriedly. It should be reliable. After all, Bai Tiangong was one of the most important people under this expert. His memory shouldn't have any problems. Zhuoan glanced at the sacred mountain behind him and continued. Moreover, as you can see, the number of experts in the 3 factions is much greater than ours. We are at a disadvantage in terms of numbers. If he were to compete with them head-on, he would have no chance at all. If you have an advantage, you might miss out on a great opportunity. With this shortcut, we can enter the tomb earlier. This is a great opportunity for us. Although Duan Jiping and Lin Long were still worried, they were more excited. This was the tomb of a cosmic Dharma adept. If they could really plunder the treasures in advance, they would really be rich. Keep a lookout. If you see any adepts coming, kill them immediately. I will look for the entrance to the shortcut first. After Zhuoan finished speaking, he approached a crack on the back of the Divine Mountain. According to Bai Tiangong's memory, the entrance to the shortcut should be near this crack. Duan Jiping, Lin Long, and Lin Long nodded repeatedly. Then, they looked around vigilantly and used their consciousness to carefully scan the surroundings. Fortunately, the back of the purple flame Divine Mountain was very remote. Most of the people gathered here were at the front of the Divine Mountain. In addition, when Zhuoan entered the back of the mountain, he had secretly set up a large shielding array around the area. Therefore, the people who broke through the front would not be able to detect them with their consciousness. Duan Jiping and the other 2 were keeping a lookout mainly to prevent people from suddenly coming to the back of the Divine Mountain and seeing them, thus exposing their whereabouts. The depths of the crack were dark and deep, and the terrain was very complicated. The entrance to the so-called shortcut was in the deepest part of the crack. Zhuowen walked in a strange pace as he slowly approached the depths of the crack. There were all kinds of traps in this crack. If he didn't follow the special steps, he might trigger a trap. At that time, things would become extremely troublesome. Thankfully, Zhuowen had obtained by Tiangong's memories and knew how to walk through the crack. Otherwise, even if he knew that there was a shortcut here, he would probably trigger a trap because of his wrong step and be trapped inside. Not long after, Zhuowen arrived at the end of the crack. What appeared in front of Zhuowen was a small space surrounded by 3 giant rocks. The strange thing was that these 3 giant rocks were emitting a faint blue light. Although the light was weak, it was much brighter than the completely dark crack passage. In the faint blue light, a bronze key with patterns all over its body floated. At the same time, Zhuowen also noticed that in the center of the giant rock at the front, there was a black keyhole. The shape of the keyhole was exactly the same as the bronze key. Zhuowen pondered for a moment, then took off the bronze key and inserted it into the keyhole. Ka. Zhuowen gently turned the key, and the giant rock in front of him emitted a strange muffled sound. Then, the giant rock disappeared in front of Zhuowen's eyes, revealing a black staircase behind it. From the upward trend of the stairs, it could be seen that the stairs were going up. Phew! I finally found it. Zhuowen revealed a relaxed smile on his face, then returned the way he came and gathered Duan Jiping and the other 2. Zhuowen brought the 3 of them with a special pace. After passing through the crack passage, they once again arrived in front of the stairs. This staircase should be the shortcut to enter the purple flame divine mountain. Zhuowen looked around at the 3 of them. After receiving their affirmative answers, he led the 3 of them onto the stairs. Not long after Zhuowen's group of 4 entered the shortcut, Su Zhou, who was originally attacking the eye of the formation together, noticed that Zhuowen's group of 4 was not present. After all, Zhuowen's group of 4 was not weak. Moreover, there was Duan Jiping, who was at the peak of the cosmic tribulation. This was worthy of everyone's attention.